All right, and welcome everyone. Good to have you here as we start another Champions of the Rift, this time week number 2. And this time I have another friend that is joining us. It is Matt. Welcome and good to have you back.
Hey, glad to be here. Super excited to cast tonight's tournament. Although for you guys, I believe it's late afternoon or early evening. But this should be a lot of fun. We've seen quite a few results from early Vendetta tournaments, and the meta's starting to take shape. It's still by no means defined, but it's getting to that point now where the decks are relatively consistent enough that it's getting pretty exciting to see because you can kind of get an idea of what Barcelona and LA are potentially going to look like.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of the exciting part. It's the first time that we haven't had the Chinese meta kind of lay the groundwork for us. And instead, we are getting started here with relative ease. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see how all of that is going to be playing in. And so we have a couple of minutes until the tournament starts. And then we get to see some fun stuff. Rek'Sai ended up having a really good showing this last meta and is really starting to seem like it is sending waves. Are there any other decks that are kind of catching your eye here?
Um, that's interesting. It's like I think it was like not a lot of Vendetta. This is from the Ottawa showdown, right? That
Mhm.
Prismat one with Rengar.
Oh yeah.
Is that the reference? Like Rengar is a deck that was already terrifying when Sam took it to I believe it was Vancouver. Uh I'm trying to remember. But that deck is just like it comes at you with such ridiculous numbers, and then even
Hmm.
when you go for potentially stuns or some kind of negative stat modifier onto the units, that you just get Thrill of the Hunt, more ambush, and it's
Hmm.
just a deck that just really pushes a lot of aggression at you, and it's kind of difficult to play against. But seeing Prismat take again a deck that's considerably had strong results but isn't very popular to win that tournament was very impressive and something where Rengar has to be on your radar. You do need to do some games against it, and the problem is
Hmm.
it makes you want to change your whole deck,
Yep.
and it's not a very common matchup. And that is one of the that's exactly where Annie was
Hmm.
in the previous format, where the only player that really had to worry about on it was Prismat, but you still had to worry because it was Prismat. And at some point, if you're playing in that tournament, you are likely to pair into him on the top tables.
Yeah.
But it's just like one of those fringe decks that kind of makes you want to change your deck. You can't realistically make the alterations for that one archetype, which makes it so hard to tech against in most decks.
Yeah. No, and that I think the nicest part about this too is that not only are we getting kind of new revamps of old decks or new cards that are coming in with all of that, but we also have a lot of really fun stuff that is showing us that the more legends that we get into this meta, the more that we have to be able to like show for it. We thought that we would have a couple of top decks, and we still do, but it's also like when you get to like the top S tier, there's a couple, but when you get to like that A tier, it's like, wait, there's probably like 10, 15 decks that you can pick from that can be very competitive, even at especially at your local Nexus nights.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the great things about Riftbound is I think even the B tier techs don't feel completely hopeless, especially if you play at a Nexus night. You can go in with a macro strategy and do quite well.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a real cool aspect for the game. And we're generally encouraged to have such a wide, diverse meta because of the best ofs. It artificially pushes people away from certain decks because it's just a case of like, okay, I could got a chance of winning this
Mm-hmm.
incredible prize if I just take something that's potentially B tier. So you can realistically expect to see B or even C tier decks all the way into day two at regional qualifiers, which makes it interesting because you can't ignore them. You have to at least know how they work or what they're trying to do, or be able to very quickly figure out in the middle of the game what your opponent's on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'll give credit to the guy who sat down first against their opponent's infinite Lux deck and was like, I have no idea what's going to happen. Like,
Yeah.
oh, it's Lux. But it's a day two, so I'm concerned. Like,
Yeah.
and you should be. You are in danger. Um, but you need to have an idea of how like even these like really weird off decks are trying to do
Mm-hmm.
what their signature is, read their chosen champion, read their legend, read their battlefield, and then just kind of make assumptions about what you're going to be looking at in there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we got a diverse meta as a result. Now the results point to a proper tier list, but the actual playing experience is very much more diverse,
Yeah.
and I love that about Riftbound.
No, I really do. I really do too. And I think it's going to just continue to get more and more diverse with all of that. And so, with that being said, too, guys, we have the competitors who are starting to get into their lobby. So, for those of you who might be new here, how Champions of the Rift works is it is going to be a best of three rounds, basically like playing your local Nexus night. So, a lot of fun there. And so, competitors are able to bring their decks, testing out some things. And then, how that will work is at the end, depending on how they score, will depend on how many points they end up getting on the leaderboard. And at the end of the 10 weeks, they are going to be qualifying for that top 16 to be able to play for one of two playmats at the end of the season. That's right. If you get first, you get a champion playmat with the legend of your choice that I will send out to you. And second place will be a finalist playmat. So a lot of fun stuff. And again, this is a free league for people to be able to join, and an absolute blast. So, with that being said, it looks like we are just about to get into the first game, and it is going to be Spartan versus Diablo. So Diablo is actually someone from my locals who has been streaming on Twitch a lot, and Spartan is someone that has been inviting me. He invited me at an airport to join his playtest group. So
Okay,
kind
he
of
didn't invite you to
interesting.
get on his plane. Like, because I'd have been like, oh, you're going to the wrong city. What are you talking about?
So yeah, we met in Hartford, and so a lot of fun there. Let me also make sure that you
Yeah, I
can.
was about to ask, can I get a screen share?
Yeah,
Otherwise, I
gonna.
can imagine what the game looks like.
No,
Maybe a
you're
bit like
gonna
Neverland.
have to guess at this
The food
point.
is imaginary. Oh, I think he's playing Kennen. He's
So
probably playing a stack deck right now.
yep, in this case, we have an interesting matchup here where we are going to be going in with a Renata versus Draven here. And we don't really see a whole lot of Renata, but it looks like we have just an absolute powerhouse of a start here where we have a start with the unit being able to move in and then getting out a Sprite Fountain. So, not a bad thing for Renata to be able to get things
This
going.
is a very aggressive opener. We've burned 2 power immediately within our first 2 turns. So for the rest of the game, we're effectively 2 energy down on Draven until Draven decides to commit some power.
Mm-hmm.
But we've gone for the Sprite Fountain and immediately go for a hidden card on Grove of the Godwillow. Now, the benefits of us actually sticking this hold, we've left free energy open as well. So this is like so obnoxious because Draven can't really ignore this. Yep, we're going to go for Cannon Stun. Cannon, one of my favorite cards in Vendetta. I think it's an excellent card, and it's also one that doesn't get defied. It's 2 might unit for free energy, and when you play it, or when I attack, you may pay 2 to stun a unit. If there's a stun enemy unit there, I have +2 might. So the really cool thing for this is you can play it to base and still stun their unit. And I guess the trick that we're doing this is like temporal. We can flick the cannon out of play, bring it back in, and it can stun anywhere because it wasn't hidden.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's actually really cool with Renata. I hadn't considered that.
Yeah.
And this aggressive spending of power is great because if you want to crash, I mean, we could now just crash this Kai'Sa in with a spinning axe. Oh, or we can just, yeah, charge in over 2 waves because we do not want our opponent to get this hold.
Yeah, and I mean, that's going to be a really good trade right there, a big advantage. Yes, you are only going to be getting a gold from that, but being able to take out a Kennen, then being able to also conquer and draw a card off of the Kai'Sa is a good start to be able to clap back at that Kennen. Now, the hard part here that I will see for Renata is there is a chance that, you know, Draven is definitely going to want to be holding here to be able to get the card off of Grove of the Godwillow. That's going to be huge. So, in some way, we are going to need to have Diablo be able to move in and take over this battlefield. But man, looks like he's going the other way.
Yeah, I mean, we could potentially just play Hostile Takeover. Or yeah, Call the Weak also takes away the hidden card. Yeah, we're going to go for Evelyn. It's kind of weird, right? That a lot of the cards we tend to play are in our hidden slots are units because of that. Because it's such a blowout if you have something like Switcheroo set, and it just your unit gets blown out of space by some just damage base removal. But getting that hold on Kai'Sa on Grove of the Godwillow after we've already drawn a card, Draven hasn't even won a combat, and we're so far ahead on card economy here. Now, all we have to do is leave 2 up for the rest of the game whenever it looks like Renata's going to come in for the attack. And we can present a spinning axe, which is just awful to attack into.
Well, and then even on top of that, it's like you're just switching things back and forth, getting so much card advantage from the Grove of the God of Willow, and now you have two Kaisas out. And even with having something like Call of the Week coming into the gameplay here, it hasn't necessarily made much of an impact, but Singularity is going to be able to do something here to be able to take out both of those Kaisas. But again, you're seeing more card draw from Grove of the God Willow.
I find Grave of the God Willow just. First of all, I'm surprised that Diablo blinded Grave of the God Willow because it is a battlefield that you can that backfires spectacularly if you ever lose control of it. And when you don't know if you're going first or second, and that can directly affect how you're going to compete over this battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like just such a risk to take this blind. This almost feels like you have to take this going first when you know you can actually secure and set up on there. Granted, I will say that the openings on there of having Kennen and a unit was very, very strong, but it's going to be quite hard to wrest control here. Although we've got another Call of the Week and the signature spell, Hostile Takeover, we can actually get a double kill here and score Grove of the God Willow going up to 4. But Draven still has a whole mitt of cards, so that would eat a lot of power, and we would not be developing anything.
Mm-hmm. Well, and this is going to be the hard part too, because you're going to be finding yourself as the Renata player, not being able to keep up with what Draven's been able to put out here because of Grove of the God Willow. And I think this is an unnecessary risk that needed to be taken here because, just like what you said, if you end up start losing Grove of the God Willow and we continue to hold things down, we're seeing stack deck coming into the game and you're more and more locking your opponent out from just a very powerful battlefield. And so I really, would hope that we could get things going a little bit more, but this Draven is here to stay and is even showing it more by putting everything with a hidden card to be able to defend.
Yeah, and we just bring the Draven back, so he's very safely sitting, ready to contest. And the Renata not going to be able to do anything the turn that it moves in, unless we find a way to ready it. It's just a tough spot. Even something like Singularity did not really improve our situation beyond removing the two Kaisers.
No, not at all. And I mean, here we go with the Renata Glask moving in. Now, the thing is that you could try to play the catch-up game a little bit here by scoring an additional point, but it looks like a Rebuke is going to be coming in to try to push that Renata back. And again, if this goes through, and it will, this is going to be very much slowing down the Renata player. And this is just going to be a hard matchup, I feel, for Renata.
I actually think that this matchup should be not terrible for Renata. The biggest problem is going to be the Kaisers and having a way to stop them actually scoring and recuperating cards. But you can prevent your opponent from winning a lot of the combats, and just by virtue of removing all of their units, eventually the Draven player should be running out of cards. But Grove of the God Willow is completely offset what would have been a weakness for Draven, which is never getting a desirable combat. We've given Draven all the extra cards that they need to just pretend that they won all those combats anyway, and they're just slowly holding up the score. And we're seeing a lot of great decisions being made by Spartan here about preserving units and understanding where their units need to be at any state of the game. So Spartan is just playing extremely well with what they've been dealt, and I think Diablo's unfortunately dug their own grave with this Grove of the God Willow.
Yeah, I agree. And the tough part is also with Vilemal Lair is that you are going to be finding yourself more often than not, sticking a unit there that will not be able to move around. Luckily, though, with Draven, you do have things like Ride the Wind and whatnot, but even still, you got to be a little bit careful on who you put there. And I think also just having Grove of the God Willow being that, beacon on the hill, and it's like, nope, we want that for sure. And so even still, having this Draven now going down to 9 might, and that is not. Yep, there they go. They caught that.
yeah, like yes. Even Might of Tide Turner cannot make you get out of the Varmor, but you can. If you play on Grove of the God Willow, you would be able to move to Grove of the God Willow and swap the Tide Turner in, but you just can't go to base. That's the whole thing. That's the only thing Varmor's there actually does.
Well, and that's one of the interesting rules of this game too, is that can't trumps can. And so if something says can't, it doesn't matter in this case. And so it's like, all right, well, but at least they caught that. Good on the players for being able to do so there. But still, I mean, Draven having 8 cards in his hand, 8 runes to be able to work with. I mean, both battlefields are conquered. Everything here is at his disposal, essentially, to be able to win out on this game number one.
Yeah, this entire game was won on the turn where we forced the cannon, and then we were able to take the grove of the Kai'Sa, and we just never let our opponent have it back. Like it was that one turn, it just spiraled this out of control. And if you're kind of new to card games or something, if you want to kind of make a estimate on your opponent's odds of having a particular card, if you want to do some hand reading, we can see that Draven is 22 cards into their deck.
Mm-hmm.
So we're basically, well, they've only got 22 cards left. They're halfway through their deck. Plus, they would have thrown 2 cards back for their mulligans. So the chances that they start seeing their 2-ofs, very high. So if there's a card that you suspect they're playing multiple copies of, especially with a big mid like this, you're very likely going to be seeing copies 2 and 3 are coming just around the corner. Because there's one way you can do it. Is you just divide the deck into thirds, and you can kind of say, okay, they're going to have one here, one here, one here. That's not a hard and fast rule, but if you need to do a quick calculation, that is one way you can sort of gauge your risk profile.
No, and I think that makes a really good point there. And now we have an Ornn that is going to be moving in, almost like a little bit of a last stand, but a spinning X is going to be coming in to go up to 7 there, which is going to be plenty. But we'll see what kind of response with Wages of Pain, even just to get a trade in. But I mean, if that hidden card is going to be an Evelyn, then this game is as good as done.
Yeah. So we get the 3 damage. We're attacking for 4. We probably could see the second spinning axe.
And interesting to see the gold being made so that the Ornn can actually get a little bit higher in might there. But it looks like a Pike is going to be the hidden face down card that will be coming in. Now, this is also going to be a unit that once each turn when an enemy unit dies while I'm at a battlefield, play a gold gear token exhausted, and it should be noted that it has backline, meaning that damage is dealt to it last.
I love this card. This card was criminally underplayed in the last format. As a free might hidden card, it's just like, that's a lot of stats. Like, even if it didn't do anything else, it's a lot of stats. And it gives you gold, and it has backline. So it works with whatever you've got there. It's just like getting free might for 1 power. And if you're playing something like Seals and that, I've just always been a fan of this Pike. And I'm glad to see it starting to see some play, especially if you're playing decks like Baron Nashor. You play the Baron, you tap out, and then you just take 2 battlefields and hide 2 units. It's like, oh yeah, I've just like added 5 extra might to each of those battlefields. I've just got punch firsts hidden, along with maybe an effect with them. And it's just like so disgusting.
Yeah, it really is. And so we'll see though, but Renata has some work to do.
X Highway says they can't see the sidebar on the stream. Is that where the cards pop up on the side? Obviously, I'm watching.
Yeah, I still have to code that in, unfortunately. Just ran out of time this week. But yeah, next week we should have the cards available. That's why I will be reading them out to you guys to the best of my ability. So, but yeah.
Yeah, we won't go, oh my god, you won't believe what's happened. Oh, you have to see this. You had to be there. Just like to troll people. No worries, we're gonna be bringing you all the action. We're not gonna be keeping any secrets from you.
Nah, not at all.
Seeing a double treasure hoard game. This is such a weird battlefield as well, and it's one that I think people kind of overlook. It's good if you're going second because it takes you off your curve. Anytime you want to take one of these battlefields, you're not going to be playing. So, say you've got 5 energy units in your deck. When you've got 5 energy, you can't conquer, take it, and play the unit you want to play. So it forces you to almost play behind in order to take advantage of the power. So it kind of slows you down unless your deck's built specifically to take advantage of that. And we see, like, from this Draven player that we've got multiple copies of Kai'Sa and stuff. So, for example, if we do take one of these treasure hoards, we can get the gold and play our Kai'Sa and not have a problem with that.
Yeah, well, and on top of that, we've already seen the Renata being able to come in and utilize the Ornn. And now if you're going to be able to also create a bunch of gold off of that each and every turn, that could be something to really make that impact into this late game. So there still is going to be some time to see what Renata is going to be able to do to develop, especially with now a Kai'Sa being able to move in and take this battlefield. That is going to be another gold, but you're giving the Draven at this point now 2 cards being drawn, 1 for the Legend ability and 1 for Kai'Sa. So again, we're already seeing a ton of value being in with this Kai'Sa, and Renata's going to need to figure out a way to clap back before it is way too late.
Yeah, and that is a huge tempo swing where there was every option to just go ahead and make the gold and play Kai'Sa the base, or is this like, wait, I can just draw 2 cards, take this battlefield, and then back it up with a overzealous fan. So if my opponent moves in, they effectively give me another card, and they have nothing in the back line that currently contests what I
Mm-hmm.
have. And if even if your opponent just goes singularity on that, I think you're and then moves to their treasure hoard, you're not in the worst position because your Kai'Sa's already double drawn for you.
Yep, exactly. And it's already done its job. And that's one of the things that is really fun about this game, too, is when you're trying to calculate out your unit's value. And that can be something to really sway what actions you end up taking. So even if you do happen to send a Kai'Sa, even if Overzealous Fan, for example, wasn't in this battlefield currently, still being able to know that you're probably going to win this battlefield, Kai'Sa's going to get you a point and 2 cards. You've already made back your value in what Kai'Sa is able to bring you for 5 and a power. And so a lot of times those calculations can be a little bit more difficult to make than that. But if you are able to find that value accurately, it can be a game changer in your strategy.
There's a couple of simple ways of doing it. One of the key things is that it's difficult to value how much a point is worth because over the course of the game, the cost of each point gets exponentially higher because your opponent's going to be interacting,
Mm-hmm.
blocking, and killing your units. So it gets very hard to calculate. But if you look at your colors and sort of say, hey, what's the cheapest card that says draw a card? That's a spell. And in most cases, you can look at something like Consultant Panels, which costs 4 to draw 2 cards. Or I'm trying to remember what it's called. There's the blue card that has repeat, which is pay 2, draw a card. So you can say, hey, drawing a card is worth about 2 energy. So in this case, we scored a point, we killed a unit, and we drew 2 cards. So it's like we've massively exceeded the energy that we invested into this Kai'Sa in order to make that play. And sometimes those rule numbers don't necessarily actually translate to what's happening on the game. You can't ignore what your opponent is doing, even if you're like, but I got much more energy efficiency than my opponent. It's like, but my opponent got to 8 points before I did. That still doesn't matter then. If you even if you it felt like you played 20 energy and your opponent played 8, if they got the 8th point, then you did something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But you can do stuff like that to see, is this play worth it? Especially in situations like this where we can see the Renata's tapped out, there's a hidden card, and it's just a case of we don't want to let this Renata ready. So we've got to find a way to nudge this off. Oh, we've just got Evelyn for it. So we can just drag that away. Yep,
Yep.
I love this.
Well, and
Draw a card.
that's going to be such a powerful avenue for you to be able to go down to, because Evelyn not only is going to be able to be revealed from hidden, but also you're giving her backline too. So Forerunner is going to be taking the blunt of that hit, and Evelyn is going to add an additional 2. So not only do you get the card draw, but you also get to take out a big threat of Renata. And I gotta say, Draven just continues to have the answers here turn after turn. And even with now Renata having 8 cards in hand and a hidden blade coming into play here, I don't know if there's going to be much else that is able to keep Renata in this game, and we might even see a 2-0 at this point.
Yeah, it's tough. And what I particularly love about Evelyn, especially in Draven decks, is just being able to Starcross and then pick up the Evelyn, bounce their thing, and if they want to play it back to base, they potentially play it straight into the Evelyn that you reset.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like it can put your opponent in lots of no-win situations. Evelyn is a really, really cool card, but again, it depends on you having a hold plan. And quite a few competitive decks actually don't have
Ooh.
hold plans. Oh, I do love Brittle Steel.
Yep. Brittle
This is a
Steel
card
coming
that just,
in. Whew.
yeah, kill a gear, and then it has flow. This is just like you can play it as a one-off in your main deck, and it kills 2 gears. So it kind of gives you a little bit of leeway against Jace. It's just very good into Kennen. And if you want pro advice on how to play into the Kennen deck, you go after their seals. If they actually have to pay power to play their deck, it doesn't do very well. They can't do a lot if they have to keep actually paying the power cost. The way it gets around that is by drawing for his deck so quickly and then playing its seals out. And we're going to be coming back to this game though, because I will go off on all the tangents every time something excites me. We're going to be seeing a Sprite Fountain and Wages of Pain.
So, I mean, just like that, going to be trying to move in, but with the 2 up and 7 or 8 cards in hand, I'm going to be assuming that there has to be a spinning axe that is going to be coming into play here. Even if not, there's even a couple of maybe different answers that you could utilize here too, if you're not too worried about losing Evelyn.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with Draven, you very rarely want to play the spinning axe on defense because it has temporary. So if you don't reattach it, you just lose the axe, and it's a lot better to play offensively because if it goes wrong, like you can just move it over to this forerunner, and we could be just seeing another Evelyn that's just over there. So we're just like, yeah, we can let our opponent have the 4th point. They had to commit for it. If we've got the spinning axe, we can still use it whenever we need to. We're on 5. We'd like to go to 6 this turn, but yeah, it starts to get challenging because if Renata gets this 5th point, the gold suddenly can be used. They give energy as well. And then that can get really dangerous because it can let Renata do things that you're not normally allowed to do.
Mm-hmm.
So we do kind of have to make sure that this honest broker does not see another day. Ideally. It feels weird saying that, actually. Kill the honest broker, not the corrupt one. Get the honest one.
So, and that's the thing too, though, is even with all of this, you still have a pretty good board state set up on both, and Renata is still holding a good chance of being able to conquer both. The one thing that I was a little bit worried about, with another brittle steel coming in, choosing to pay 4 for that to be able to blow up the fountain to stop from 3 might coming in, a little bit of a risk there because that is going to be 4 and a power to be able to take care of that. But even still, if that's something that can get you a little bit further ahead, then more power to you there.
Yeah, I'm kind of a fan. It's one that people generally don't like doing, but stealing one sprite away from the opponent is actually very, very powerful. Because for Sprite Fountain, in most decks, they had to pay a power to play it. So if they don't get both halves of it, your opponent has actually got a significant loss. And a sprite, unless they're Lilia playing Smoke and Mirrors, does nothing during your turn. So it's actually kind of like a good target, especially if you've just got something sat in your trash that has flow that you can just go, I'm not doing anything else this turn. I'm just going to eat that and not worry about the sprite next turn. But we do have to be mindful that we're now technically getting into the realms of having 15 energy on the following turn, and that is Time Warp plus a whole bunch of stuff.
And
So we have this
yeah.
might be out of Draven's hands at this point. They might just be at that critical mass point where they just do not have enough energy to contest the rest of what Renata wants to do. Renata has a lot of drool here.
And that's going to be the tricky part, though. And we did see a little bit of digging with Consult the Past to try to get those answers. But, I mean, at the same time, if we are able to see a time warp, that's going to be going into from 6 to 7 points, and then a good chance to be able to come through on that game. And so I was one to start to count out what Renata was maybe able to do in this game too here. But yeah, you're exactly right. He's able to get the extra mana from the legend ability of Renata, and that could be paying dividends to really secure this game too and keep him in this match.
Means your Time Warp does not get hard bargained completely out of existence. So this is actually quite a dangerous spot. Even though Draven's got representing Starcross here, we have access to 15 energy. That gives us a lot to play into our opponent's free open. We just don't really have anything in base. Hostile takeover. This is great because then if the Forerunner dies, the Renata player gets the max.
Yeah, that's true. And that's something very interesting to be considering here. And I got to say, that's one of the saddest parts is Renata is not the best legend, but has one of the most fun spell cards or signature spells to be able to utilize here. And so because of that, we are going to be able to take control of an enemy unit and see what else is able to be there. But because of also the legend ability, we still also have enough to be able to time warp after this. So because of that, we might have to hold on to the hard bargain and allow certain things to play out so that we can still stop that time warp from coming through.
Yeah, if that time warp lands, see, this is like the really tough part. If we kill the Forerunner here, opponent gets the max. If we let this go, we could just shove it back to our opponent's base, but then that Poro gets to come in for free and effectively threaten the same time warp. It's a tough spot. We kind of have to hold up our hard bargain. We're kind of locked out being able to play anything else. We could. I imagine there was a consideration about whether or not you play Starcross if you have it and bounce your Forerunner and your opponent's Poro. But yeah, the Forerunner was stolen ready, so it gets
Mhm.
recalled. It can go straight back in.
And again, that's going to be opening the door for, that double conquer being up to 7 at that point. Now, even with the signature spell, one thing that we do have to be mindful of is going to be, do we keep that Forerunner alive? Because that's the thing. If you risk the time warp, then they're just going to get the Forerunner back, and they very well could try to take both battlefields and win out here. But still, great effort there on going up to 7 points at the end of this conquer, but a very difficult situation for Spartan to try to calculate out.
Yeah, it's a case of like you have to just bluff hard bargain. I think if you don't, your opponent 100% takes a time warp. If you tap under here, but the other risk then is we play Colder Week instead of risking the time warp, and we can go ahead and effectively. Okay, yeah, we're taking the gold, so we're not going to go for a time warp risk.
But we are going to
Yeah,
Ash.
Ash.
And
See, our
holy!
opponent didn't have the hard bargain, but they had all the axes in the world. Oh dear. Hmm.
This is interesting. Every single axe, and I'm really curious on if Diablo did have the time warp in hand. I do understand. I do like that he didn't risk it in this case, but still, 3 spinning axes, and even outside of that, a rebuke and blood rush. Just a lot of really good answers here to be able to try to deal with this board state. And there's a lot to be seen. I mean, don't forget that the Rek'Sai does also have Assault, which is going to be adding 1 to its might while attacking, and then you have a good amount of stuff also on the back end there. So, gosh, what do you get rid of at this point?
That is really, really tough. And we still have our Forerunner problem. Like we ideally want to play Cold a Week or something to get rid of it before our opponent gets it back. And I'm assuming that was the plan if we weren't going to go for a time warp here. And it was excellently held back because there was a lot of patience there. We could have rebuked the Forerunner in
Mm-hmm.
order to prevent it from actually taking this battlefield. Our opponent's going to get their Forerunner back, and they get their axes as well. It's just going to be so hard to make these holds.
Now,
Not impossible. We got 2 hidden cards.
yeah, and I mean, if you have, I mean, we've already seen what, 1 hidden blade at this point. Still a good chance that there might be another hidden blade, and even going for a trade here. And so we'll see, though. There's, gosh, 1 rune up still. And I mean, while your score is within 3 points of the victory score, your gold also still adds an additional 1. And so keep in mind, that's reaction ability. So you could have 4 runes to try to get that last ditch effort from a card in hand as well.
I think this is just so hard to hold because we've got axes and we can cascade them down.
Mm-hmm.
And also we can use the Rek'Sai to accelerate the tokens off the Forerunner. We can assume that there's probably a hostile takeover hidden somewhere, and Hidden Blade. It, you're not too beaten up if our opponent has Wages of Pain hidden.
Mm-hmm.
They could be Cannon. That would be playable in this situation, but
But we are seeing one
yep,
of the axes
spinning
coming
axe
in to
number
put
one.
it at 8. We'll see if there's anything to be able to answer back at that.
Yes, even if we
Oh.
consult, that's we're gonna lose this battlefield. But actually, it would have been nice if we'd been able to bait out both, well, 2 of the spinning axes, to prevent the other side being able to just do the same cascade plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and that's the thing too. Is now only 1 remains of the spinning axe left, and so we'll see what other responses are able to be done. But it looks like the rebuke is going to be coming in. Might very well be targeting the Ornn here. That is going to be an additional 2 runes that need to be paid in the power cost, as a temporal breach is going to be coming in to blip the Ornn back out and into existence.
Oh, that is still beatable because we've got the assault 1, so we've got 10 to our opponent. No, no, we don't. Uh, we can spinning axe, but then we're so low. We've got the we've got the blood rush actually,
Mm-hmm. And it
but
looks like
our
Blood
opponent's
Rush will
not.
be repeated.
Yeah, makes sense. But we do have 4 energy to play with, so there could be a hidden blade, and that would close out the game if this Rek'Sai attack doesn't go through. We do still have 2 energy up though, so we do still have access to our spinning axe.
Yep, and so, oh my gosh, this is coming right down to the wire. 7-7 right now. and still 4 runes up. Now, the difficult part about Ornn is when Renata has to respond, then you're really hoping that you have enough to be able to do so. But Brittle Steel is going to be coming in to destroy one of the readied gold here.
You can just react and kill the gold.
Yeah.
It's the reaction. So was that missed?
That was a miss in this case, I would say, yeah. Because you could just float it in reaction to.
Yeah. So the Rek'Sai has to die here, and then we. Oh, we don't necessarily win because we end up shrinking the Ornn.
Yeah.
So we got 6. If we can clear the Rek'Sai, our opponent has 6, and we'll be at 7 if we only spend one of our gold. So Hidden Blade wins on the spot if we have it. We do not, and Draven does Draven, and even though there was a ridiculous amount of deflect paid, you can play deflect a million if it means you're going to win the game.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's going to be the biggest thing. And you take a look at both opponents' hands there, and unfortunately, just not the answers needed for Diablo to be able to secure this, as Draven then takes it 2-0. So a great job there from Draven. Again, he's been making his climb. He wasn't necessarily seen all that much in the beginning of Unleashed, or throughout the duration of Unleashed, but ever since Vendetta, it has been back and is coming back with a vengeance there. So we'll see what ends up happening. We have a lot of game still left to be seen. I mean, that was only about 25 minutes of our game, so we'll be sure to go and find you guys another game real quick to be taking a look at. So all in all, though, Matt, what were your thoughts on that game?
I just kind of I felt like Spartan played extraordinarily well with their position. You can see how much they've practiced different matchups and the way they were moving their units around. It felt like such small micro decisions about which unit was going to sit in Grove of the God Willow each turn, but it shows you how much Spartan understood where his units needed to be or what he needed them to be able to do if the opponent responded. Oh my god, someone has unlocked the croc.
Yep,
That
it's
was Renekton.
unfortunately
But
their game was over, unfortunately. But yeah, we're going to be trying to get into another game here, and we'll be watching a Renekton later, definitely to see what is going to be there with that. So we have another game coming in for you guys.
Yeah, and Draven's still very, very good. I think it just didn't see play because people were kind of a bit sick of it, and Aurelia was very strong in the Unleashed meta. We're going to be seeing Kha'Zix. Kha'Zix's deck that's been picking up a lot of popularity is a highly technical deck. It's basically, it doesn't have a big macro plan other than getting to 8 points and trying to pick up some XP along the way, but it just bullies the opponent, and it's so good against Master Yi because your chosen champion gets +2 whenever it fights something alone. Master Yi wants to be alone, so you completely offset Master Yi's bonus. And we also get to play Punch First. We also get to play Starcross. We get to play Sabotages in this deck. And we do see the new card next to the Tentacle. I can't remember. It's got Empower. You get to bring units back. So it gives you extra uses of your Irresistible Fey Folk. And it can allow you to just keep bullying. Like Kha'Zix feels like a very early game deck. Like it just keeps pressuring you until like you go, my opponent's already at 6 points and I've just got onto the board. That's the position Kha'Zix wants to be in. Kha'Zix does not want to be in the position where it's basically ran out of cards. And oh yep, there we go. It's basically ran out of cards and your opponent starts just like creeping back in. And losing your chosen champion can be very, very tough for the Kha'Zix deck. But it has a very, very good Yi matchup, and Yi is considered one of the biggest decks in the format. So it's one we might be seeing a lot more of.
No, and I definitely think that we have that chance to be able to see more in this case. And so, I mean, really, it looks like this round one has gone incredibly fast, all things around. And that's the interesting thing, too. And I want to get your feedback on this is that it feels like that the pace of this game is at a really good point right now where you're still going to get some grindy matches. If you find yourself going against Ezreal, that's going to be a long game. But in general, it seems like that the pace of play of these games are relatively good.
Yeah, and one of the biggest culprits for that is actually Starcrossed, because you can't really afford to be playing big units that don't do something immediately when they're played. We're just about justifying Forerunner because of how impactful it is anytime it doesn't get Starcrossed. But it's just, you're in a situation where your deck kind of has to be quite low to the ground, so it results in the matchups being a lot faster than they were before because you needed to have some sort of plan for when your opponent starts throwing forerunners in your face, which
Hmm.
isn't the case anymore. So now people have gone much lower to the ground, and that results in games being faster. And we look at decks like Rek'Sai, which I think has done really well because not a lot of people have practiced against Rek'Sai, and you have to play against it very differently than you would most other decks,
Hmm.
because you have to play around what the Rek'Sai player wants to do as opposed to what naturally you would normally do. So a big example of this is when they open with a Candlelit Sanctum and they move their 2-cost unit in, and then you've got your turn 1 play, which is a free might unit, and
Hmm.
your immediate thought is walk over the 2, score my point, clear my opponent's unit. And what that does is then gives the Rek'Sai player a chance to kill your unit, get the Sanctum again, and again get another free card off of their legend. When what you really should do is go to the open battlefield, leave their guy to get the hold point, and just invest your energy in making sure Rek'Sai does not get a conquer on the following turn. And then Rek'Sai doesn't get free cards because they can't use their legend ability on holds and they can't reconquer it. So if they do get a clean conquer, you can make sure they don't get it every turn, and you outscale them if you do that because the way the Rek'Sai deck wins is it plays more cards than you. It doesn't play better cards than you. It just plays more. And if you can prevent them from doing that, it reduces the chance that their casino deck goes off where they hit things like the Under Titan. But
Yep.
again, that's something you only know if you've practiced quite a lot against Rek'Sai.
Hmm.
Otherwise, you're just going to say, oh, it makes sense to just walk over my opponents too, score board position, score a point. I'm actually generating value when you're giving them back their most ridiculous battlefield for the Rek'Sai player,
Hmm.
giving them another trigger. And the Rek'Sai deck kind of wants to conquer, hold. It doesn't ever want to take both sides in the same turn, otherwise it loses legend value. It's a weird match, but I think as more people practice it, we'll see the number of successful Rek'Sai start coming down.
Yeah. Well,
In
and
my humble opinion.
I do think you're right about that, and this is a very good platform for Rek'Sai to be able to jump ahead for the time being. And I really think that we're going to be potentially seeing a lot of Rek'Sais over in Barcelona. I don't think it's going to be as drastic of an effect as what we've seen like with the LeBlanc, where LeBlanc came in swinging from the very beginning and was a very powerful option. And then once people kind of figured out how to play around the deck, it fell to the side, the side a bit. But at the same time, I think Rek'Sai is poised much better to have that success to be able to keep going, though its win rate might come back down to earth a little bit. So we'll see. But I mean, I gotta say, especially for it being a very budget-friendly deck, you don't have to run like Kai'Sas or things for that matter, and you're building it for basically around $100, and then you're able to compete with the best of them. And so I'm really excited to see where this deck is going to go, and I think it is set up relatively well to have a good run this set.
Yeah, I actually just want to latch onto a point you made there. And one of the most incredible things about Riftbound is how many budget decks are actually viable because of the best ofs. Like, you can actually show up to a regional on $100 deck and have a real chance of playing into stuff because of how wide the field is. As long as you've done enough practice, it's you've got the opportunity there, which is really cool because it does open the field to many more people, assuming you can get a ticket to a regional qualifier. And I'm not salty in any way that I was in the pre-queue for LA and then found out that the pre-queue people had to refresh, even though the message on the screen
Yep.
said, do not refresh.
Mm-hmm.
Under pain of death, you will lose your seat and you will have no more heirs to your throne and you will die alone.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't quite say that, but that's how I read it. And then I couldn't get my ticket for LA because it's like, you're in
Yeah.
a queue, you're in a queue. The tickets have sold out. I'm like, God damn it! If I'd have just showed up on
Right.
time, I may have had a chance.
Yeah.
So instead, I'm not playing any Vendetta regionals. So I'm just going to spend all the secret sauce on YouTube videos and just enjoy casting some tournaments and playing online for this set. But I'm pretty disappointed because Vendetta has been very fun to play.
It has been, and it's real nice because this one didn't necessarily have like the power creep of what we saw from like set 2 to set 3. And so I'm going to be curious now if we continue to keep going wider with it all on that. And so I do think that we still actually have one game going. I've been trying to get into another game. So let's get into this to be able to see what we have in store. But it looks like we are going to have a Kha'Zix versus Master Yi, as they are both 1-1 in game number 3. So we still have one more match to be able to watch from, and we'll see what is in store here.
Yeah, and this matchup again is just so hard for Master Yi because of all of the stuff that Kha'Zix does that pressures super early, and that's when Master Yi is kind of at its strongest. And it's actually kind of funny that we've got both Rengar and Kha'Zix in the deck. They're like hunter assassins, and they kind of hate each other. In fact, I think that's how Rengar lost his eye. It's kind of like Scorpion and Sub Zero, except
Hmm.
nobody throws ice. But we have the get over here spirit and the tasty Fey folk sat in the back line. So Master Yi can't even just say, okay, I'm just going to develop. Instead, they have to risk whatever they're playing into a Kha'Zix just coming straight out of the champion zone. But Kha'Zix is low on runes because of that punch first on the previous turn. So Master Yi is going to have to hold up quite a few runes to contest either of these battlefields. And the Frozen Wastes is we're going to get dragged onto the Frozen Wastes if we play anything meaningful. So that's a challenge. Like if we leave 5 up to Rengar, we don't really want to Rengar into the Frozen Wastes. We lose our benefit of being Master Yi.
Hmm. But it look
Charm on the Fey Folk. This is good. This is very good play.
Yeah, that's going to be a great response on being able to get that taken care of. Now, you do have to be worried about a couple of different plays in this case. But all things considered, yeah, Yi is going to have to be very calculated, but not only that, going to have a couple of draws to get things taken care of. But still, that Scuttle Crab to be able to see what remains in hand, and we get to see a little bit of a challenge. And because of that, that's going to be the decision to then play the the Ruin Runner, so that it cannot be
Yep.
targeted with the 2 cards in hand.
Look at opponent's hand. I'm going to play the Rune Runner. That's the only one that doesn't die to literally everything. Like, Skull Crab is such a ridiculous card. Did it have to, like, I know it's on flavor, but did it have to draw a card and look at your opponent's hand? Like, looking at your opponent's hand is just such a
So,
powerful effect.
yeah. No, it really is. And I just can't believe that you're able to play. Ruin Runner has been just such a menace in this meta. And I mean, it really was that, along with Rengar, that made Yi get right back on top. But even still, through all of that, this is going to still be a development turn for Yi, and he's only going to have 1 unit out onto the battlefield. So we'll see if Kha'Zix is going to be able to capitalize on this. I mean, after all, we still have a Kha'Zix in the champion zone, which could be a big factor here. And then a brand new card coming in, which is Tail Cloaked Matriarch.
Yep, and this one gets back the Fey Folk, so you can continue to harass your opponent's backline.
Mm-hmm.
But again, the Rune Runner is just such a solid unit because Starcrossed is just so prevalent and Fizz Loops. And if you need a unit that has to stick, it's kind of the only unit in the game that actually does that, other than Akali Silent, which some of the Master Yi decks are playing. They don't have enough mobility to really make it work. Um, but this is tough because our Rune Runner is now stuck in the Frozen Waste, so we're not getting our Yi benefit. But we know that the 2 cards in our opponent's hand do not answer the Rune Runner. So what we're saying here is, okay, yeah, we've got an Hourglass and we've probably got some number of tricks to back this up. We could start to tip the game balance here if we can just ride this Rune Runner all the way in. But it's going to be tough because Kha'Zix is still in the champion zone.
Yep. Well, I think that was the biggest thing here too. Was Kha'Zix was doing a very good job at, I'm now low on runes because of the punch first, to your point that you brought up, and then was able to also take care of the board state. So even though I am down to only having 3 runes, I'm able to slow the game down enough to where Yi isn't able to capitalize on that rune detriment here. And so now we have a much more even playing field, as Up from the Deep is coming in to be able to create 2 1 might tentacle tokens. And we'll see, if Kha'Zix has the momentum now to be able to really take it home here in this round 1 match.
And yep, that was again excellent play coming in from. Just trying to read the name because it's sideways. That's really obnoxious. Vainu I am. Is that Vain Su? How do you say that? Vain SU.
Yeah,
I
Vainsu
am.
I am.
Vain Su I am has taken advantage of Master Yi leaving up so much energy. It's just like, I can just develop here.
Mhm.
Like, I'm on evens. Taking the 5th point opens me up to a risk that I don't necessarily need to take. We are going to get a rampage to rip out this Kha'Zix, but there's also an argument about whether you go for the Matriarch or if you go for the Rengar. But whenever your opponent leaves up a bunch of energy, it gives you there's the Akali Silent. It gives you a lot of room to develop and then burn your opponent's energy, but we do still have to take advantage of development. So that rampage was very well timed.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. But then also being able to get a stacked deck that, while you are falling maybe a little bit behind in this case, now getting that stacked deck could be able to find that search to hopefully get an answer to be able to deal with this Ruin Runner, because we are down on points. And not only that, we also have a Yi that still has 4 runes up. And even though there's only 4 cards in hand, that can still be very intimidating to try to work around. But we do have some tentacles to do the heavy lifting for us a little bit. So one's going to be moving into Starspring to be able to gain a point, with it taking this to 5-5. But still, there is a lot of work that Kha'Zix has to do, especially with that Hourglass being out in the base for Master Yi.
Yeah, losing our Kha'Zix here is really tough, as that's one of our key units in order to win this matchup. And our opponent has 2 cards in our hand, and we've literally just played 2 units that say your opponent can interact with them. And this is partially why Yi has been such a menace, is because it had access to just 1 unit that did this. We now have 2. Okay, we're saying our last card is a punch first, because we've got a 2 might advantage over this this Forerunner. Sorry, this Rune Runner.
Mm-hmm.
So Kha'Zix could have only made this attack if they had punch first.
Yeah, and that's the interesting part here. And even with, looks like that is going to fall flat. So maybe it was just a bit of a risk to try to get that last advantage. But still, with 4 runes up, there has to be some answers there that are able to be dishing out some way to be able to get over this. And so I don't know. It's just not.
We've got the right idea as Master Yi. It's just like, we have to ride this Rune Runner all the way to victory.
Mm-hmm.
And by just investing, basically holding all of our energy just to make sure that that thing doesn't get knocked off. And it's awkward, it has to be on Frozen Waste. But if it moves back, it just gives our Kha'Zix player a chance to score that point. And Akali, despite being excellent on attack, is not very good at holding. Although Master Yi, so
Yeah.
we do have a bit of opportunity here.
Master Yi does make that a lot more viable here. And, I'm still trying to figure out that attack in with the Rengar. It might have been just that high risk, high reward, but you're losing just such a good unit there. But we are going to go and empower our Tail-Cloaked Matriarch to try to now play a unit out from our trash. Now, of course, that can only cost 3 and a power or less, and it looks like in that case we are going to be having the Shadow Order Disciple then come in. So we'll see. There's still a lot of game left, but if you give Yi an inch, he can run a mile, and so we'll see if this bug is about to get squashed.
Yeah, it'd be very well for FF Living. Surrender Living, that is a great name. It's going to be well fought because Kha'Zix is a bit of a nightmare matchup for you. It's uncommon enough, but you kind of have to practice it because of how difficult it is. And see, this hidden card changes it so much because Akali is only untargetable as long as she's not in combat. So if you move her in, all of a sudden that hidden card becomes very relevant when it otherwise wouldn't be.
Yeah.
So we get our 6th point. So basically what we're saying is we've left up all of our energy, which is probably Rengar, and any number of combat tricks, is that our opponent has to team attack into this Rune Runner. Or we're going for Switcheroo. Would have been really good to not have in the trash against this Akali Silent.
Mm-hmm.
But this Rune Runner is just being a complete bully here. It's all because we lost this Kha'Zix. It's unfortunate if we'd have left this in the champion zone and then wouldn't have been able to use it on the ambush, that we probably would have been able to run away with this game, but we just decided to try and burn our opponent's runes, and they happen to have the rampage. So what was actually tactically, from an economic point of view, was a very good turn for Kha'Zix, might be the small edge that gives Yi this win.
Yeah.
But it's all the play for. It's coming neck and neck. It's just, do we draw the eye to the Rune Runner?
Well, and that's going to be the thing too here, and it looks like we are trying to make that final attack in this play here. So, I mean, we still have 7 might, never mind. We have 3 might left in base. We are trying to defend this battlefield, and I'm wondering, it's like, we're really trying to hold, but if we even happen to hold, what then? What is this Kha'Zix going to be able to do to then be able to take the forbidding waste? I'm just seeing that this is just a big wall that is going to be very difficult to try to get under.
Yeah, we could play was it From Below, which returns everything back to their owner's hand. But then we've got no way of getting a fast unit in. The Rune Runner comes back. So first mate. Yep. We're ready to make this push.
Yeah, and now I can't be targeted at this point. And then on top of that, it looks like we might have another punch first to be able to come in. So that is going to be a 10 might Ruin Runner that cannot be chosen by spells or abilities for that matter. And even though you have a lot of units out there, they do not equal the most amount of might.
2 units in hand. Sorry, we've got 2 cards in hand that we know do not interact. It's Rampage and I've forgotten a card. That is really bad form. Oh, and we've also got the Discipline.
Yeah. And it was the Star-Crossed.
Starcross, yeah. 2 cards that just don't interact here at all.
And the switcheroo is just not going to be able to do it either. And I think the Yi, because of the first mate, was able to then move in and just make a mammoth of a Ruin Runner that was able to get those answers. So those cards ended up being dead because of what the Ruin Runner was able to do, holding all the way up to that 7 points and then being able to attack right in. So very good game. Love to see what that is able to have in store for us.
Yeah, very, very well played by FF Living, understanding their win condition, and it always helps when you draw the 2 punch first. And ultimately being able to rampage off that Kha'Zix was probably where this game tipped. And then just unfortunately for Kha'Zix, they never drew an out to Rune Runner. But other than that, very, very well played. They did what they could. There's a lot of tentacles. Obviously, Kha'Zix does a lot more than it used to now, which is great. But it's a deck that terrifies me. So I imagine you're going to see a whole bunch of this coming up in LA and Barcelona, especially after people have time to learn all the new tricks you can play.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's the thing too. One thing that's been really fun to see with all of this is what we now get to see with Kha'Zix, who has been able to do pretty good in these games too. I gotta say, I really love that it's been able to get a win in the Runes and Rift tournament because it never necessarily had a whole ton of legs in this last set, but it looks like that it is having a better chance in this one.
Yeah, I mean, in all fairness, it's always been a good deck, but it's always been one that you have to really study every other deck and understand exactly what you're doing. You have to play a lot harder on Kha'Zix to achieve results versus just understanding your deck and what it tries to do and setting the pace, which is something that Diana and Yi are both very good at. It's like, as long as I understand what I'm supposed to be doing, I don't have to think as much as my Kha'Zix opponent, who has to then come in, go through their specific checklist for how they approach this matchup. With Yi, it's like, oh yeah, I kind of have. I need to figure out what my win condition is against Kha'Zix, but it's in most cases it's like the Yi plan is mostly the same in every game. Whereas with Kha'Zix, it's going to be a lot of I need to pick off my opponent's key units. I need to know what they are. I need to know what I'm digging for my stack decks in order to find those key answers. So it's it's a difficult deck. And this is kind of like the decks like that. You tend to see one player monopolizing all the best ofs, like Colin on set.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh yeah, it turns out that set is actually quite technical, and there's a reason that only one player was winning all of it because anybody else who tried to learn it just wasn't doing it better than Colin.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if Colin's moving on to Ambessa for the next set, if they're
It
switching
looked like a
colors.
collie with what he was saying.
That is going to be a very contested one. Akali is a weird deck. I still don't know where I stand. I think the correct version is definitely playing Astral Heron, and I think not playing Astral Heron in your Akali deck is probably wrong. But yeah, the format's still got room to grow at the moment.
Yep. So it'll be interesting to see how it fleshes out, especially as we get into this first regionals that is coming up here momentarily. But with that being said, guys, that is going to be the end of round number one. We're taking a look at the leaderboard right now and how everything ended up playing out as these players start to get into round number two. So a lot of game to still be left to played. We have round three after this as well. So stay tuned for that. We're going to be taking a real quick break to set up the next round for you. So stay tuned, and we'll have more Riftbound coming your way.
back, and it's Croc o'clock here, as we're going to be seeing Renekton versus Lilia on a double-seated power game, which is super interesting. Obviously, Lilia being able to make those sprites gives it a lot of ways of triggering seated power, so this is kind of a bit of a dream situation, is to see, hey, both of these draw me cards, and then Renekton able to cheat the energy system with its reaction ability to play units. By spending 2 power, it gets it 2 energy, so you can just burn 2 runes, so it lets us play ahead of curve. Renekton is a very weird champion. There's a lot of building to be explored with it because obviously being able to accelerate out big units is great, but we're in a
Mhm.
format where big units get horrifically punished by the most popular card in the game, Starcross. So it's like, how does Renekton actually utilize this ability in a way that doesn't just end up crippling your rune economy?
Yeah.
And I think that's been one of the biggest challenges to deck building with Renekton.
Well, and that's the thing too. And Renekton does get a lot of energy advantage, but it does come at a very costly price, just like what you were saying. Now, one thing that I want to point out, I just saw this. We have Seat of Power as both of the battlefields here, which is going to be really interesting to see how that then ends up playing out. Because yeah, it doesn't matter what you conquer as long as you control the other, you're going to be able to draw a card. But it looks like that we have an attempt to try to rampage that is then going to get defied. So Lilia already being able to show what she is able to do. And real quick, I just saw a comment in the chat. For those of you who don't know, this is a weekly tournament that starts every Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern. If you want to join these are free tournaments for you to sign up for each and every week. All you have to do is go to the Discord, and which is linked down below for you guys, and take the Champions of the Rift role in that case. And then every Monday is when I go and set up the lobby for you guys to be able, or the form for you guys to be able to sign up in. So a lot of fun to be had, good practice, and you are welcome to sign up each and every week or just whenever you have the time. But with that being said, we're back in the game here, and I gotta say, both of these are kind of like the underdog style of decks. You don't see a whole lot of representation of them, but right now we see Renekton being able to use his legend ability to play a Raingar that is going to be attacking for 5.
That was so expensive because we had the 3 runes available. We could have just ambushed this in. So we've got a follow-up response, which is the only reason we would have done this, because we have to play this power cost on this Rengar as well as the 2 power from our legend. So we have crippled our rune economy. So we have to have a follow-up. Otherwise, I don't understand this play.
Yeah, and it very well might just be now that Kaisa's then able to potentially go in. I'm hoping that there isn't an Unguard. Oh, there's a
Or
Stupefy.
Stupefy.
There's a Stupefy, so it's going to be going down to 3. Is there going to be some kind of response? No, that's going to be a huge loss. And
Oh, yeah.
Renekton is not getting 2 cards drawn after that.
And we've left 2 energy open, which meant we probably did not have a response to save the Kaisa. Otherwise, we would have used it. And then we didn't have a unit to develop. Now, technically, we do have 4 runes to play off next turn. If we 6 runes to play off next turn if we want to use Renekton again. But I think if you want to look for that one play that turned the game heavily to one side, especially with double seat power, it was playing the Rengar that way, because we didn't need to. We could have just spent our free and then played it normally, and then we left the 2 runes up anyway. So we
Mm.
literally just burned 2 power for no reason. And that's like the challenges with Renekton, is that if you play any power cost on your units, your ability basically gives it a triple power cost. And there are very
Ooh.
few triple power cost units that I
Mhm.
want to play. One of them is Sivir, and I still haven't found a way to make that work.
No, not at all. But I mean, this is one of the things that Lilia sometimes can struggle with, is trying to maintain the card draw. But in this case, there is no way that you are running short of cards at any point, because Seed of Power is going to be drawing so much here. But Renekton is falling behind so incredibly fast, as we already are. I mean, we're in turn 9, sure, but it is 6-1, and those sprites are putting in the work.
Yeah, this is brutal, because at this point we've got enough pressure where we can just leave up runes for interaction every turn, and we're threatening a Thousand Tail Watcher to close
Mm-hmm.
whenever we want. And this is like one of the biggest challenges to playing into Mind in general, or the blue color, is that if they're a Thousand Tail Watcher deck, once they get to 6 points, it's just very, very difficult. And even if Renekton does start get back in this game, it's not unheard of for Lilias to play things like Unchecked Power,
Hmm.
in their decks because their deck is predominantly sprites that they do not care about. I'm sure Lilia personally cares about each and every one of the sprites, but the pilot less so. So it's going to be very uphill for Renekton here.
Yeah, and I mean, even trying to get two Nidalees out into a battlefield, I mean, you got to imagine that, yep, Lilia's going to have each and every answer, as now a Smokescreen's going to be moving in to -4 on a Nidalee. And so you're already finding yourself at a little bit of a handicap. And then even on top of that, a Smokescreen is going to make it to where this sprite is going to be able to take out both of these units if there is no other response. And it looks like there very well might not be.
Yeah, these cats are getting a bit clobbered. We've got a Grim Apothecary.
Okay, step in the right
So
direction.
we can pick this back up. And this then allows us to still get this win, but we're going to lose one of our Nidalees. A Nidalee's coming back to hand. We've burned a lot of power. Oh,
And
we got another on guard.
gosh,
Sure.
and so even after all of that, still being able to have the answer. And that's one of the toughest parts, even after a smoke screen, with how many cards Lilia has in hand, you just got to assume they have the answers. But that's the hard part. You got to endure those answers. And it looks like that the Renekton just was not able to. And we are already done with game number 1. And we are not 5 minutes into the match.
Yeah, that was rough. Seat of Power is definitely one of Lilia's favorite battlefields. I think it's a lot harder for Renekton to play it. I assume that you would want to do that if you were. I mean, you can play it. It's just obviously a good draw battlefield, but it's very hard to get more value than Lilia is ever going to get on that. And I think Renekton, looking at the deck composition of playing all the cats with the power costs and your legend ability, the idea being that you can ambush from one energy is pretty cool, but it's so power intensive that even one misstep can set you too far behind. So I'm not entirely sure how I feel about the build. I don't know if it's necessarily being the best use of Rengar, but again, I didn't build the deck and we're looking at it for the first time. So I don't want to sound too negative. It's just that looked very expensive.
Well,
That was a croc who has rich tastes.
That's going to be, I think, the hard part, though, is finding that balance. And that's why I think also Renekton is going to be one of the hardest legends to try to build around. And it might even take a set or two for him to really find his rhythm to make that meta impact. I do, however, feel like that once that is figured out, that Renekton will have a good chance on being able to get things going. So we have Decree of Strength coming in, which is really
Such a good card.
interesting. Now, for those of you who don't know, this is a card that says that you are able to choose an opponent, they reveal their hand, and you can pick a mind card from among them, and they recycle it. That means that you can pick a unit, gear, spell, whatever is blue in this case, and you are going to be able to have them immediately be able to recycle it. So we saw a ruined or Riptide Rex that was going to the bottom.
Easily the best decree in the entire cycle. I
Mm-hmm.
think
Mm-hmm.
Decree of Strength is ridiculous. The red one should be good, it's just not. The green one's pretty good, but the yellow one is playable if your deck doesn't already have access to that, and
Mm-hmm.
then the purple one is just absolute garbo. Maybe it comes up at some point,
It
but like
does a little bit.
the blue one is also kind of playable. But one of the main units that you'd want to play it on is Rune Runner, which you can't do, but you
Yeah.
can shrink Rengars and a lot of other stuff. So the blue and orange ones are definitely the best degrees, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. No, and that's the thing, and especially that it doesn't have a power cost behind it. A lot of the other decrees do in this case, but we have a brutalizer that is going to be moving in and being able to try to take down this. Now, we still have 3 runes up, and keep in mind that the Renekton legend ability says that you can only spend your energy to be able to play units or activated ability of units. So something to keep in mind. So a Rengar is going to be coming out and ready to attack at the start of next turn. A pretty decent trade, all things considered.
Yeah, I think that was a bit preemptive to play the Rengar here, because we can get charmed. Because it was almost with certainty that Lilia would activate the legend ability to move into the other battlefield, and then we'd have had a chance to play the Rengar um, to our base. But so we did expose our Rengar to some risk that we didn't necessarily need to, but it pays off. But how do we capitalize when our opponent's left up 3 runes?
Ah,
We really
that's.
want this star chip to peak. That's
Mhm.
for sure, because it gives us the extra runes that we're spending. Sabotage, we're aggressively coming after me. Now there's a stupefy in there.
And I mean, yeah, that's not a bad thing. The hard part is though, is if the card you draw is better than what you already have in hand, you're not going to want to necessarily then reveal said hand with the card that you don't want taken at this point. But another Stupefy is going to be coming out again to make the Rengar go down to 3 if it decides to attack into a battlefield with another unit. So interesting there. And now the Sabo's able to go off, and we got a
And
couple of decent. And
Sprite's cool.
one that I really like, though, is the Blast Cone Fae. This is one that I saw a little bit in set 1 in Victor. It was a great surprise card, but it can be hidden. And then when it's revealed, you give -2 to a unit to a minimum of 1 when you play me. So keep that in mind. Even if you play him out into base, you can give a unit that is trying to defend -2. And I really love that this is included in the Lilia.
Well, what's interesting about that is if you play it to base, you can actually give the -2 to anything. It doesn't matter where it is, but if you play it from hidden, it has to target the
Mm-hmm.
battlefield it's at. But the Blastcone Fae is a relatively strong card. I'm generally a fan of it. It's still a 2 might swing. Well, technically it's a 4 might swing, so it's effectively for 1 power you get access to Smokescreen at a battlefield, which in Smokescreen is a pretty good card. So I think Blastcone Fae is pretty cool. And we've got a very dumb cat here who has to go to the other battlefield as we're not going to beat Lilia with Brutalizer with double Stupefy stacks on us.
Well, and this could be a very big advantage that Lilia could potentially take if she's able to hold and channel an additional rune. That's going to be 3 runes that you're able to get back at this point. And yeah, that's exactly what's going to be happening. And the rune differential here can continue to increase time and time again here. Whereas, really the Renekton's the one that needs to be able to utilize that battlefield.
Yep, and we're going to be able to just make a sprite to run straight into the Renekton at this point because we've got Sprite. We're going to get to hold up. We've got Unguard in hand as well, so we can score this. Oh, we can just get our Akali silent down. Such a silly card. It's Screen Rune Runner in most cases.
Yep. And so, I
Oh,
mean, I'll go for it.
oh, sorry, I was going to say, I do like that they actually put a condition where it's not, where it's like, hey, if I'm actually in combat, you can interact with
Mm-hmm.
me. I'm like, I like that a lot more than what they did with Rune Runner.
Yeah,
Because it
well,
gives you
yeah, that's the
some
thing
room.
though. I still do like the Ruin Runner because it is a 6 cost for a 5 might that has such a lockdown ability there. And if they would have made it any other color that couldn't be used for a +2 in Yi, then it wouldn't be as hated as it is. But it is, for that fact. But I do like the Akali. It is a very well balanced card for that, especially for the cost being 4 and a power. But man, right now, though, it's going to be interesting to see what Rengar might be able to do. I still feel like he does have a decent advantage with maybe the units he could bring in here, especially if Lilia is going to be able to continue to be low on cards. But still, that Akali can absolutely put in work.
Yeah, this is a very different pace. Obviously, when you haven't got Battlefield Brawl, uh, it really highlights how Lilia can fall behind. But we have seen like Sabotage and Decree being played. Now we can make our Rengar fall back, and it's kind of tricky because you don't want to expose your Akali to a potential combat unless you've got a way of getting it out. And we also know that from looking at Lilia's hand, it's unlikely they have anything to get it back at the moment.
Yeah, well, and the nice part about this is, too, though, now we're going to be able to utilize our battlefield on the following turn if we happen to survive. Units here have units with temporary have shield, which means that they will get +1 might when defending. That can be a nice surprise, but it really makes me think that it's possible that right now we have a couple of answers that Lilia might be able to dish out if Akali is moving into a battlefield. So we'll see if there's maybe something that Rengar can do, but still, we have yet to see that big move be made by Dizu to be able to get into this game. So we'll see.
Yeah, unfortunately, game one was just like a bit of a freight train. It was just Lilia's magical Christmas land happening, which seems very fitting for the type of character. Uh, do we flip up Emperor's Divide? No, we are going to channel our runes first. It is tough. And again, Rampage is the one that's kind of now sort of become more of a favorite for our ability to contest things
Mhm.
on the back line over what was originally Challenge. Dominus. Ah, this is the signature spell. It reads get defied every single time.
Yeah.
But when it doesn't, this card is actually cracked. Effectively, it doubles the might of a unit, can be played at action speed, and it gives it double power ready, but it gives it a unit ability, so it works with your legend.
Hmm.
So right now we've got an 8 might Nidalee that can go in, ready, come back, or basically this is the reason we're playing the Gem Jammers, is that we'll be able to pay the 2 ready and then move it over. Smokescreen. It doesn't matter if you're doubled, we're gonna have, and we've got the repulse.
Ooh, so that's going to be a nice change of pace right there. A good response. But is there going to be maybe another one that Lilia has up her sleeve? It doesn't look like it. And that is going to be much needed card draw right there for the Renekton. Now, still, we have someone on the other side that still needs to be taken care of. But at the same time, if you can really start to lock this down and stop Lilia from being able to draw the cards, it's going to be such an advantage here. And Renekton might be able to still hold on.
It's going to be hard because if we want to use this Nidalee to get the extra card, it's going to cost us 4 power. So that's basically all of our runes, and then our opponent can just make a sprite and attach the Brutalizer. So it's not really worth getting the Nidalee over there. It would have only been worth it if we could have paid the 2 here and then Gem Jammered over. We can attack for 5, but we know our opponent's got on guard, so Rengar can't really attack unless we've got a punch first in hand. But again, that's going to cripple our runes, and we're playing Renekton. So we're very aggressive on burning power.
Yeah, and I think that might be something we do need to keep in mind here is, yeah, what are we going to be able to do with trying to defend? And you might have a couple of units that you're able to continue to dish out here, but still it's you're finding yourself at a very difficult situation here where Renekton hasn't quite been able to build up a viable board state. I mean, he does have the 7 runes, so this could be a very explosive turn as Sabotage comes in. But an Ungard is going to be played in reaction to give +2 to the Akali. So, I mean, we'll see, but I mean, we're still waiting for that big turn from Renekton.
I mean, we can accelerate our chosen champion act because we can use our legend. Oh, and it's Janna, so we can't even do that. And our opponent's got the Faizental Watcher, and we can't attack into this Akali. We can clear the sprite, but then if we don't answer this Akali, they just play Faizental Watcher. We're boxed in here. We've got 2
Yeah.
cards. Now, if we'd have had another decree, we'd have been able to rip that Faizental Watcher straight out of their hand,
Mm-hmm.
and that would have been fantastic.
Yep, and that's going to be a difficult situation, especially when you're feeling so limited as to what you have in hand as the Renekton player. So we'll see what is going to allow us to be able to play this out and what might be able to come through. But it looks like that this might be maybe the end of the game. They might be talking and being like, look, this is what I have face down and, things like that, because I don't see what he might be able to do to be even able to take one at this point.
Yeah, it's so hard because the sprite gets the +1, and this is one of the games where we didn't even see Mask of Foresight,
Mm-hmm.
which is just so awful to play against when Lilia draws that card, even Brutalizer. It's part of the reason why you kind of need to have some form of gear hate in your main deck, and you can choose not to, but then you're going to run into some matchups like this where you just get cheesed out of the game.
Yeah.
And of course, the battlefield gives our temporary unit +1, so this is Rengar trading. And even if we play some kind of attack pump, our opponent can just Janna us straight out.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's like even if we do manage to hold here, if Akali stays alive, it's like, all right, well, here we go, and we have the Kaisa that's going to be able to move in and get some card draw and some defense, but at the same time, Thousand Tail Watcher looks like is going to be able to just come in and steamroll them because he can come in for 10 at the max and then still be able to, attach the Brutalizer move and call it all good. Yeah, man, I really wanted to see Renekton be able to make that run, but it looks like that is going to be the GG there as Lilia is able to take down Renekton 2-0.
Yeah, very, very well played. Lilia is a relatively good deck. We've seen Gelwins do very well in Vancouver, and obviously we're in a new format now, and Lilia is still performing very, very well. So I expect that it's just, it has a very strong, the ability is very, very strong for Lilia, just being able to make it. These runes are these are the new ones, I assume, right, from the new set.
Yes, correct.
Uh, they look so faded. It's like someone left them in the sun for too long. Maybe it's just the image res I'm looking at, but it's just like, oh yeah, it's just like a kind of washed out green. Or I think it's supposed to be bamboo.
Yeah, this
Hard to
is
say.
your Nexus Knight style in this case. But yeah, with that being said, I'm going to be continuing to watch to see if Lilia might be able to have some legs in this meta. But it looks like, yeah, we are going to be going back in to a whatever we said, Vayne Suayam versus Swifty. And Swifty had actually a pretty good run, and this time around is going to be running some Shin. Now, ended up losing game 1 against the Rek'Sai, and we'll see maybe if they're able to continue to hold here. But it looks like Starcrossed is going to be coming in here, and if there's no Defy for that final card, this could be devastating.
Ken is a surprisingly good deck. Uh, there is one guy who's currently got the build. If you go onto the main Discord, they're usually chatting about it. But I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be a Heron deck when we literally just get to play a hold strategy. And I think a lot of people are playing it with Sona. And don't get me wrong, Sona is very, very strong in Chen, but it's when we could be playing Heron, it feels a little bit like that's the direction we're supposed to be going with it. But it's the legend ability is very strong. It can't be understated. We can give unit tank, like in this situation, where our Poro effectively has 10 HP and has tank, so it's going to eat this entire Rengar attack. Even though the Rengar won't be killed in return, our Mournful Witness did see combat and take and survive, so it will go up to 4 might, which would be harder to contest.
Yeah, I agree there. And so we'll see. But that's going to be also just the hardest part is how are we going to be able to endure the onslaught here? And that's the saddest part too, is it just feels like that Shin has the odds just stacked against him. That's going to be the hardest part here, that his legend ability is kind of mid and, you know, things like that. But I really do like that Swifty is trying the deck out, seeing how it is going to be able to function here, because you know, maybe he might be able to get a couple of wins, and maybe he might be able to surprise a couple of competitors with his build. And something like Key Barrier to be able to absorb the next 7 damage might be the thing to do just that.
Yeah, actually, my next YouTube video is probably not my next video, my next profile is going to be a Shen deck. But I think the correct way to play it, as a bit of a spoiler, is that you go for one side and you don't play for the second side. You go for the Heron and then use the new Shen, uh, leader of the Kinku, because you get the discount if you play it's the second spell. So you play it for 4 and 0 power, and you just start double scoring. So your opponent never really gets to take one of the battlefields because you just make sure they don't get it, and you only go over there when you can confidently take it with low risk. I think that probably more along the lines of the way Shen wants to fight, but it will be interesting to see how things shape out because obviously there's a lot of variance to that. It's a lot harder to hold into against something like Aurelia or even Kha'Zix if you're only using one unit.
Yeah, I agree. Well,
Sorry, I had to suppress a yawn there.
no, I get that.
It was forcing itself out there.
Well, I mean, what time is it for you over there right now?
It is half past midnight. Well,
Yeah,
that's actually the worst way to say it. It's 12:30 a.m.
there we go. So, yeah, a little bit late for you, but that's perfectly fine. Good to have you here all the same. But yeah, right now, even still, also kind of surprised that Shin has even been able to continue to keep up with that, being 6-6 right now. But still, right now, with that lockdown here, you're seeing that there is just both battlefields being held by the Kazakhs right now. And it just doesn't look like there might be much that Shin is going to be able to do to close out this game with 2 cards in hand.
I mean, this Frozen Waste is going to shrink this Rengar, so our game plan has to be we're holding Frozen Wastes because unless we've got a way to stop this Kha'Zix getting its bonus, um, we're going to be in trouble. And of course, the amateur recital is going to be able to push the Kha'Zix back or push the opponent's unit back. And then we have to worry about Void Assault. As not Void Assault, sorry. The signature spell for Kha'Zix. Is it Void Assault or is that? Yeah, it is Void Assault. Sorry, Void Rush is
Mm-hmm.
the right side one. So we're in a tough spot because the amateur recital is going to allow that Kazakhs to actually contest whatever we get of Frozen Wastes, but I think it's unlikely that Shen has the gas to be able to take the amateur recital based on what's currently in play.
That's the thing, and it's like I feel like that they are going to be calculating out just maybe what answers they potentially have, or they might have just called it a GG at this point. It's kind of tough to say when we don't hear the comms during this match, but all the same, I gotta say I'm going to be curious to see also like the representation of Shen and people trying to go for those best of metal cards when we get to Barcelona and the other regionals, because it does have the ability um to really make some surprises there. So we'll see. But I'm going to be curious to watch and see how he can also develop later in these sets.
Yeah, it's one of those decks that it does better once the meta's refined. It currently doesn't have a stable enough game plan to threaten everything and just say, "Hey, you have to deal with me. I exist." And it has the ability to take a narrower range of cards into a developed meta, so you know exactly what you're attacking for.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where Shen has some legs. Like after playing with it a little bit and then seeing it, I can see the vision for the legend, and there's a lot of cool options. Um, and Shadow Dash is a ridiculous charm spell, especially with flow. So there's definitely room for Shen to be probably one of the better ends. I say one of the better ends of green yellow, but then Ivern just got so many tools in this new set that I I wouldn't be surprised to start seeing Ivern in day twos
Yep.
for people that have been on that legend since Unleashed.
Yep. And so, with that being said, though, that is going to be the end of that game, too, as the Cossacks takes it with relative ease. So, good to see. And I think Cossacks also is going to be one that could see a lot of really fun gameplay here. In the coming weeks, also could have some really saucy builds that are able to take it to the next level there. So we'll see. But as of right now, guys, again, these games are just moving so incredibly fast each and every time. I mean, we're only, what is it? Yeah, 30 minutes into this round, and we only have 2 games left that are still going here. And one of them are going into game number 3. So, again, we're going to be going back to a Renata versus Lucian, oddly enough. Things I didn't
Hey,
expect to say,
buddy.
but here we
Uh,
are.
yeah, Lucian is kind of in a weird spot because the deck is still very, very good at what it does, and that's going to be able to cheese. Oh, that is a brutal salvage. It is able to cheese wins out with his combo. The biggest problem that you have now is there's a lot more ways to interact with it. For example, one brittle steel can clear 2 gear, so it kills your Trinity Force and your Skyfall. Fallen Feline can just call a signature spell. This card is absolutely insane. I love this cat, and it's one of the reasons that I really like Ivern. It's overstated for its energy cost. You get to name a spell when it comes into play, and as long as it's at battlefield, that spell cannot be played. So if you really hate Starcross that much, you can call that one. But it's just it can even be like Defy, or it has to be a spell. But it gives you a lot of room if you know what your opponent's doing, you or what their strategy is. You can absolutely cripple them.
Well, and that's the thing too, and even being able to call out, I don't know what they called out at this point. Unfortunately, they spoke it instead of typed it. But I mean, if you're able to even call out like your opponent's signature spell, punch first, things like that, then guess what? Sorry, but you might have 2 punch firsts in your hand. You can only play one, of course, at this point of the game, but they just can't do that. And especially when you have such a battlefield that can be very difficult to try to get around here, it can really tie down your opponent. So I really like the inclusion of this cat. It's one of the best side deck cards for yellow in particular. Though you do have to
Play in
be
the
sure
main
to
deck.
call out, yeah, or even the main deck for that matter. But you do
In
have to know
in
what card to
Ivern.
actually call out. In Ivern, definitely with a cat.
Yeah, it's 4 might. It's
Yeah.
4 might on a battlefield that denies your opponent's spell. Like this is again, like Ivern's legend ability is incredibly powerful. It just didn't really have the tools to take advantage of it.
Mm-hmm.
It can completely shut down your opponent's game one strategy, where it's like, here's my preferred neutral, or when I'm going first, it's like, yeah, I'm just going to give you 3 bad battlefields, and I'm going to play these cats to for cripple you. And we've got new Poros, we've got new cards that just make Ivern so good.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm excited to see some more of him, and we're going to be seeing Zed. This card has started to pick up quite a bit of popularity because originally it was getting ignored, but I think people finding that you get 8 might for 4 energy, a pretty good deal.
Yeah, well, I mean, and you're able to see just in one turn how wide Lucian's able to go now. And I mean, that's going to be something to definitely be keeping in mind because I don't even think with everything that Renata might be able to put out here that that battlefield is going to be safe. Now, we only do have 2 cards in hand. That could be something that is going to be able to be watched, but it looks like we have a Sprite Fountain that might be able to help out a little bit.
That is a good draw. And Lucian's always had that weird problem where going wide doesn't really make sense because your entire game plan is to stack a bunch of gear on a unit and have that hyper carry charge in and take advantage of multiple assaults. But you kind of it's much harder to do that game plan now. So the wider we go, the gear has a cascade effect, but Lucian's then always had a power issue because of all of the equips.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of like a weird conundrum one how to build it. But if your opponent isn't main decking gear hate, you usually steal game one off them just by virtue of, oh yeah, I can attack for like 18 on one unit, or I still have my combo to just steal multiple points in that.
Yeah, and then also one that I absolutely love here is going to be the Shady Spectacles. That's going to be added on to the sprite there. So what that's specifically going to be doing is that as this is attached, you choose another friendly unit. The equipped unit becomes a copy of that unit for as long as this is attached to it. Now, if you also select Ornn in this case, then not only are you getting the plus for the gears and everything like that, but yeah, you're making this sprite a very difficult thing to try to overcome, and trying to split up these units on the Lucian side to get these points can be now that much more difficult as the sprite becomes another Ornn.
Yeah, and these spectacles have a lot of potential for being abused. And I because you can just effectively play down one big unit and then turn one of your early game cards that you've drawn that is no longer serving any purpose into that big unit. And then you can keep basically printing copies of that big unit by just attaching it to all the smaller stuff. So Shady Spectacles is a very dangerous card. And I think we're going to see a lot of it in once the format kind of develops and people kind of find like better combos to play with it.
Yeah, but it looks like we are going to be having our Rengar now going up to 8. With the +2 from Rampage, we paid the power cost at that, and now going to be able to deal 8 damage into the cat, or into, sorry, the Vi, and then starting to move in to maybe create another trade here. Luckily, nothing has tanks, so you're going to be able to do some equal trades, but because of that battlefield now exchange, the Rengar has healed, so it no longer has the damage from that Rampage and is able to attack in as it sees.
And we ate a gear unit, so both of the Orns have shrunk to 7s. So we're going to have 8, and we've got 8 on the back line now, ready to attack. And our opponent is tapped out, and they do not have 5 points, so this they have no cards in hand anyway. So if we've got literally one stat point, yep, we can just relentless pursuit. Yep, and out of nowhere, Lucian just straight up comes up and slams down double Ornn for game.
I mean, just an absolutely great ending to that. That sometimes can be so difficult to try to calculate out, and then just was able to do so, with relative ease. I mean, with only a couple of cards in hand, being able to really maneuver that, very well done, and also being able to see that line. Sometimes it is a bit difficult to see those types of exchanges where, if I just, rampage here to destroy this unit, then attack him with this, then, go down this line of attacks. It can really make it sometimes difficult to see those kinds of lines. So great job from Gameslayer on being able to see that.
Yeah, it looks like they were at 1-1 looking at the little
Mm-hmm.
pips by their names. So if we still don't have a game to watch, we could catch the finals of that one.
Or I thought that they were done after that. I thought that was game 3.
Oh, it looked like it went to 1-1.
We'll double check real quick just to be safe. Um,
Because I just saw on the pips that Lucian lit up one gem, but I could be wrong.
yeah, because let's see. They haven't reported yet, but they also haven't gone into game number 3. So we'll see. We'll stay tuned for that. In the meantime, I will try to get something on the back of this just to be safe. But yeah, so far, guys, we've had a lot of really fun gameplay coming for you. Again, this is a tournament that you guys are able to join. It is free for you to be able to participate in this, and a lot of fun. And with that being said, if you do want to be a part of this, we do have the Discord down below for you guys to be a part of this. So a lot of fun to be able to see this game. And if you want some extra practice for your week, you are more than able to join and play however many rounds you want. Some people only play 2 rounds, 1 round, and then they drop, and that's that.
You only need points. You only need to be in the top 16 in order to qualify. And if you show up every week and just play 2 rounds, you might have enough points to make top 16. But we're going to be seeing Ezreal versus Jace. Now, these are both very slow decks, but will Jace's 3 Elder Dragons be enough to deal with Ezreal's constant recursion of discard into Starcrossed? This should be quite a tough matchup for Jace. However, the key card that would keep Jace in the game is the Garbage Grabber. So Ezreal is going to need to find some gear hate, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And that's going to be the hard part, is this is also sometimes just a really difficult matchup for Ezreal. But it looks like the Catalyst of Aeons is going to be coming in to get some ramp. And as long as we can get our Aurora out, even out once, this could be a big difference maker here.
Django support. Yes, there are prizes at the season finale. Sam Knight is gracious enough to be offering game mats to the finalists for the final tournament. There are some chats that I'm not seeing, I don't think, because I can see you typing into some of the
yeah, because it's on YouTube and Twitch. So if you're only watching on Twitch, you're missing half of the chat.
Oh, yeah, okay, so that'll explain. I've just got like the Twitch pop-up. So if I've missed any chats there, sorry, I'm not ignoring you. It's just that I decided to only care about Twitch today.
Yeah, definitely. So in that case, though, yeah, this is going to be, it feels like that this is just such a back and forth match here, too, because you're really hoping that as Ezreal that you're going to be able to set up your pack of wonders and being able to get things bounced back and forth at a very good rate so that they can't be able to find the answers as Jace. And Jace at the same time is trying to hope that Ezreal doesn't have the gear destruction and things like that when Aurora comes out. And so, there's a reason why this is going to be taking such a long time, because it can be a very difficult game, because Ezreal doesn't even necessarily start scoring until the very end.
Yeah, and there's also the thing that Ezreal can eventually outgrind the Elder Dragons if they find their cards, but we haven't seen a pack of wonders. So as Jace gets closer and closer to starting the game, there is a slight concern that Ezreal is not finding the combo pieces they're going to need to contest it. Let me just pull up your YouTube so I can get your chat popped out, and then I won't miss anything.
Yeah, so again, though, we'll see what this is able to do. Another, though, is going to be coming in with a Bewitching Spirit, so that's going to be, another card discarded. But again, Jace only needs 1 in this case, and he's like, well, I'm going to be able to potentially get... if I have a card draw in hand, I'm going to obviously keep that. But otherwise, I'm never discarding Aurora. So it's going to be maybe a little bit difficult for Ezreal to try to get them down to that 0 as a Temporal Breach is going to be revealed here and discarded. So kind of interesting to see how that's going to play out. But the Ezreal is going to now be coming in to draw 1 and draw 2 and discard 1. So... I mean, at the same time, that's going to be the hardest part. It is still 0-0 in this case as a stack deck comes into play.
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I see all of your chat is on YouTube, and I've just been looking at Twitch going, oh, it seems kind of empty. And I kept seeing you responding, so going, I wonder why I can't see that.
There's
Um,
reasons. There's reasons.
yes, it was entirely me. Uh, do we have Aurora?
And
We're
so
losing both of our Bewitching Spirits if we do this, and Aurora is the play of next turn.
that's going to be the tough part here is, yeah, if Aurora is going to be able to be played here. Now, we still don't know if he has that in hand. He's gone through a fourth of his deck at this point, but Aurora, yeah, it's coming out. And so if there is an Elder Dragon that is hit, and generally that is the only card that is being ran in Jace, you're going to be hitting it 100% of the time there. So it'll be a very difficult thing maybe for Ezreal to be able to come back. He is tapped out, but even still, if he's able to potentially get a star-crossed to be able to take care of the Elder Dragon, there is some hope here. But the hard part is, if an Aurora comes out, you need to have these answers.
Yeah, there is also a checkbox when you're revealing cards from your deck, so that the card that you draw are revealed to both players. You're supposed to check that because your opponent is allowed to check the cards that you reveal with Aurora, because that will help them make reads on what the remaining cards in your hand is. But yeah, that's on TCG Arena. It's just a little checkbox that says reveal cards.
So, and here we go. The Ezreal's kind of risking it for the points at this point, but not any answers in the hand of Jace. So good on them there. But again, Ezreal is on a time clock, and you got to be so careful because especially once those Elder Dragons can start getting put out onto battlefields, it doesn't matter exactly what you have to do. That is such difficult might to try to get over at that point. And Ezreal's as good as dead this next turn, so we'll see. 3 runes have been tapped, and we'll see if Ezreal maybe has some defenses that he's able to do, but we'll see.
Yeah, Starcross. It's one of the reasons that quite a few of the Jace decks do play Garbage Palace, is so they can discard their dragons. Not because they want to try and win off of it, but is then they can use the Garbage Grabber to put the dragons back in the deck. It's just and it makes birds, and birds can score. Why are we pinging? Why are we pinging the Aurora? Discard the list. Yep, calling dragon is not going to necessarily going to give you any realistic possibility of killing these dragons.
But a turn to dust is going to be a good answer, giving it temporary, so that Aurora is going to be dead. But it also has been telling me that it looks like they are just playing this game for fun, that they already 2-0'd in this case. So round number 3 actually is going to be going up. They didn't report. That's the hard part. They didn't report in this case. And so, yeah.
Report your games.
Yeah, it looks like now they did report. So round number 3 is going to be up, guys. So we are going to be getting that going. So a little bit of technical difficulty, not technical difficulty, but a little bit on waiting out for that round number 3 when we had to watch some Aurora there. So, but
you say it like it's a bad thing.
I do say it like it's a bad thing.
We're just not pulling our punches on that.
No.
I can see that how much people appreciate the Aurora matchup by how many people in chat were talking about Yu-Gi-Oh, which is, yeah, probably sets a tone for how people feel about Aurora after many, many sets of it.
Yeah, and I mean that is how it can feel at times. But even with that being said, guys, you know, there are some annoying decks, and don't get me wrong with that, and sometimes going against Aurora is that annoying deck, but that's the thing is, you know, Aurora's been pretty much as suppressed of a card as it can get with all the gear hate. Every color has gear hate at this point, and so we'll see what is able to come our way. But even with all that, guys, taking a look at the bracket and seeing where people are at for this week 2. We are about to start round number 3, and right now we have 4 competitors that are at the top, with Spartan playing Draven being able to see himself at 2-0. Newbie not a newbie indeed, being 2-0 as well. And also then we also have Keldor, who was able to go 3-0 with Rek'Sai last week, showing that Rek'Sai still has some legs and is able to go 2-0 right now. So might have a doubleheader there. And we'll see what is happening there. But we are going into round number 3 with some really good matchups here. We have Keldor versus Spartan, which is going to be Draven versus Rek'Sai. Maybe something that we are going to be taking a look at.
Yeah, it's two very card advantage driven decks, but the Draven should in theory offset the Rek'Sai. And again, if they play the Rek'Sai matchup correctly and just don't give the back and forth ping pong over the preferred battlefield for Rek'Sai, that should favor Draven. As I think it was a bit of a problematic matchup during Spirit Forge when it first showed up. Obviously, that's because Draven had Miracle, but Draven can keep up on card advantage, and it plays generally higher card quality than Rek'Sai. But then you never know. Sometimes you just reveal an Under Titan, and that extra 2 energy lets you get away with stuff that you should not be doing. So we'll see. It should be a fun one. I think it's Draven favorite, but I could be wrong. I've not played a lot of that particular matchup.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like you're almost trying to outlast, as a Rek'Sai player, you're trying to outlast the Draven hand, and you're trying to not give up as many combats as possible, because if Draven's able to get those answers and continue to refill the hand as you're playing Cole the Weak, Falling Star, and things like that, then you're set up really well to be able to deal with the Rek'Sais here. So that's going to be the question at hand, is who's going to be able to get the better answers? Is Rek'Sai going to be able to start conquering and extending their hand size and do things like Call of the Week? Because that can be something that really slows down the Draven. Or is Draven just going to be able to win some combats and continue that momentum throughout the entire match?
Yeah, it's probably a lot closer, but I think it is still Draven favorite, just by virtue that every time Rek'Sai loses a combat, which they kind of want to do in many cases, the Draven player just gets a card. But the Rek'Sai does get the ability to look at multiple cards to make those decisions on what they're going to play. So they're going to potentially find higher card quality from their deck, as opposed to just more cards.
Yeah, and so that's going to be the thing. And, they both have very good abilities that are going to be, and really good color combinations too. So a lot to be keeping in mind with all of this as we move into this round number 3. So this is going to be the final round, and we'll see if Keldor is going to be able to go 3-0 again. And I think even Spartan last week was able to go 3-0 as well. So we'll see what ends up happening, but yeah, depending on what you get is a point system here. So if you are able to get a couple of wins, then it does give you that advantage on pairings. And so we'll see how everything goes with tiebreakers on that. But Draven is going to be going first, or second in this case, sorry. And so that might be something to really help out with, as now the Rek'Sai is going to be able to look at the top 2 with 4 runes to be able to utilize. But sadly, you do not want to play the Noxus Hopeful out for 4.
It's still a free card. It's just, it would have been preferable to get it at a discount, but we're going to need a +1 card to get this Grove of the God Willow. From the before, we know that the Rek'Sai player is tapped out, but if we can take it, that would be great, because we're going to draw a card. Yep, and we potentially hide a card then to back this up, and then we've got Grave of the God Willow draws as well, and we get the Seat of Power draw. This is very good early presses from Draven. And we're in a situation where if we take both these battlefields, we are going to lose some legend value. Unless our opponent takes one back. So we have to take Grove of the God Willow. So Draven should hide something if they've got it, because we know there's a lot of cleaves and stuff in the Rek'Sai decks. We want to discourage them from just mindlessly coming in.
Well, and that's going to be the difficult thing. There are a lot of ways to be able to ramp up the battlefields here. So he is going to be attacking in, and then in response to that, going to be going maybe a little preemptive on that, because you do have reaction speed on the hidden card, but even still, Cleave is going to be able to come in, go to 7. Rek'Sai is going to be able to then find potentially a falling star, but Void Rush is also going to be a really good option here to potentially dig a little bit deeper there, but maybe no cards are going to be chosen, and instead of Rek'Sai accelerated out to be able to take both battlefields right back and also draw a card on Seat of Power.
We also managed to press quite a lot of runes there because of the hidden card and the Kai'Sa accelerate. So we're now tied on runes, and that is another Evelyn and a tide turner. Those are quite small, and we're going to get double holds, and we're going to get what would normally be the drawback to Rek'Sai of not being able to get their legend triggered this turn. Is Grove of the Godwillow is going to start. Oh, we got the falling star, the second one. Yeah.
And then a Rek'Sai just vanished. She burrowed. It's fine. But no, it looks like they're pulling back a little bit. Just in case, though, I don't think there is there's a Kai'Sa stuff. You don't want to give any outrageous hand size, but also being able to potentially attack in and get a legend ability might be helpful too. But I mean, you can see how aggressive this Rek'Sai deck can be at times and how destructive having kill spells at the same time of being able to be aggressive, how big of a difference that can really make.
Yeah, and we needed that hidden card to stop that conquer so badly. But unfortunately, we were literally 1 point shy of trading off of the cleave with the Noxus Hopeful, and then that just let both sides get run over. But if we just had one more point of might, so say if we had hidden Pike instead of the Evelyn, we'd have traded there, and then accelerated Rek'Sai would have only we wouldn't have had a lot of energy to play cards off. Oh, we find it under Titan. So we can just get the extra +2 energy, and then we can play our another Noxus Hopeful, or we could just play the Under Titan itself with the +2 energy.
Yeah, but I mean,
so
even
good when it works.
Yeah, you're seeing that even though, sometimes this does maybe feel like a little bit like a casino deck, that there is
I
really
keep
that
saying
you're
that.
just
I'm being rude.
yeah, but you're really just extending your hand size a little bit. It's not nearly as casino heavy as like what you would see with, the Kennen decks in particular, or like Hook decks in this case.
Decks, yeah.
And that really, it is just extending your hand for those cards. And one thing that also is such a benefit here is that you can funnel out the cards you don't want so that you are able to find the Call of the Weeks, which is making such an impact right now, or the Falling Stars, or the things that really are going to impact the board state, and the ones that don't just go right to the bottom.
If you want a great card against Call of the Week, consider the Carrion Dredger that makes a bird when it dies. Very, very good 2 energy card, and is a very good insurance policy against Call of the Week. And funny enough, you can play it in the color that has Call of the Week if you want to play that card.
Yeah. So right now, Spartan is in some trouble here against Rek'Sai. A very well-built base. 2 runes still at the ready for Keldor. And it looks like that is just going to be an automatic transition into game number 2. So, I mean, yeah, that's exactly what happens, especially if you allow Rek'Sai to go first and you do not have the answers to combat.
Yeah, and again, we see Grove of the Godwillow punishing the player who chose it blind going first. With Rek'Sai was able to get a hold of it, and then Seat of Power as well. And even when we weren't using the cards for more Legend, we were pretty much just able to get all the cards we needed to just keep developing. And then once we had the initiative, it became very hard for Draven to get back in. And to be fair, we had the second falling star come down. We had 2 Call of the Weeks. Like Draven just got picked apart there. But it's tough. Whenever you blind take Grove of the Godwillow, you're at risk that your opponent gets it and then holds it, and you're in trouble for the rest of the game.
Yep. Well, and that's going to be the thing. Game number 2, though, Draven is going to be able to go first. Yeah, a lot of times you're hoping to get something along the lines of like your overzealous fan that you're able to move into a battlefield and then have that little bit of a protection. But again, you got to be so careful on having like something like a falling star coming in or a Cole coming in, because you could very now easily send a recruit into a battlefield, Call of the Week, and get rid of Tide Turner, or even just additional answers. There is so much calculations that you have to make when going against Rek'Sai.
Yeah, and the trick is, if you want to make Rek'Sai spend its energy before it makes its attack, so that if it wants to play cards on the top of its deck, it kind of gets more limited on what it can do. But in this situation, you've got the either or problem, which means if we play a unit and our opponent has Falling Star, we're really far behind. Okay, we're going to falling star. It's not high value falling star, but it does prevent the Rek'Sai um, from being able to get a trigger before they spend energy. So as long as we've got something to back up this tide turner, it makes accelerating this. Yeah, it makes accelerating quite difficult.
Yeah, and
And
that could be the little bit of a momentum shift in Draven's favor, and that is something that he desperately needs right now. Now, you still got to be very careful about navigating this, but it doesn't look like that the Draven has the most optimal hand that you would potentially want there.
is that a security warning on your phone for safety?
Yeah, in Utah,
You have an earthquake?
surprisingly, no, we have a tornado warning right now
Um,
in
are you
Utah.
are are you good to keep casting, or do you need to go
Oh
take
no,
cover?
dude, I lived in Nebraska. We used to watch tornadoes on our porch form in front of us. It's nothing big. No, and it's Utah. We're surrounded by mountains. We're
Oh,
fine.
help me with my American geography. Is Nebraska near Kansas?
Yes.
Ah, okay, so you could have ended up in Oz if you
You
weren't
know,
careful.
at this point, Oz has a much better tax rate and property value than we have here in the United States. It would be an upgrade. Anyway, with that
Affordable
being
housing
said,
in the Munchkin City, right? It's like, oh,
I
it's right by
mean,
the Yellow Brick Road. You can
it
walk to the Emerald City
yeah,
from here.
it's definitely downsizing. Slight pun intended there with the Munchkin land, but outside of that, no. But with that being said, guys, back to the game.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll see
Let's
how
not
this ends
get
up
too
going
caught up in that.
with
And what I
all
really like
this.
about this Frozen Waste is we can comfortably send the Karen Dredger in for it if we need the point. But again, we're trying to deny Draven combat wins. One of the problems with Dredger is that Draven does get to just walk over these with their 2-drop without investing any cards into it.
Yeah. And this is the hard part though, because also Draven was given a really good opportunity here to develop and really get ahead, and has only 2 tide turners. Now, of course, you are seeing that the saving grace here is going to be having 2 falling stars, but even with all of that, again, you're seeing units multiply and continue to come back here. So yeah, you were able to get rid of the Rek'Sai, but we are going to have 8 runes at the ready and a recruit that is going to be able to move in and get some ability going. But we're going to start with the Poro coming in just in case we hit the just in case,
Noxus.
yeah, Noxus Hopeful, which we indeed do.
Oh, yeah, we definitely want to take that. It would have been nice to be able to play the Cleave, but we've got other cards in our hand that may potentially let us get over. But yeah, playing that Pori first is just understanding. Yeah, if we hit Noxus, we're 100% playing it. And we've got to play it onto the Frozen Wastes, so it means that we don't have to face the drawback. No red runes being found by Draven, so that can't be an accelerated Kai'Sa if we have it in our hand.
Here, 1 second. Gonna hop. Okay, looks like he did. Okay, good. Because Keldor sometimes does forget to pay the cost of those coming from the legend ability, so just want to make sure that he did that this go around.
Yeah, you don't get free cards, and please do let me know if the tornado becomes an issue.
No,
I do.
it's not going
We don't
to.
have those in England. You know, if there is a creator, their favorite country is definitely England. Because we don't get earthquakes, we don't get any of the bad stuff, except for our summers are so hot because our houses are not built for it,
No,
and we don't have aircon.
like it really is going to be perfectly fine. I'm not worried. Like I said, it's Utah surrounded by mountains, and on top of that, um,
He says as a Lamborghini comes through the window. Just like, oh my god.
hey, if anything, that's an upgrade, and I'm happy for that.
Hey, that is content right there. Like,
So anyway, but with that being said, this has still been not exactly the type of board state that Draven has been wanting to see. And now with him even backing away, you're going to be finding yourselves with the ability for Rek'Sai to get another pop off here with the legend ability here. And
yeah.
so,
And again, this is kind of like what we were talking about earlier, where it's a challenge with the Rek'Sai, because what we wanted to do there would have been to stack up the Zone Warrens and try and go for a hold to prevent Rek'Sai getting more value here. But we're finding another. Oh, we've got a new card here, the Escaped Greyback, which is just eat a unit, get +2 might.
mm-hmm.
Very, very good, because this lets us deny Draven combat. And I really like the Escaped Greyback. I think this is a great card.
Yeah.
And I really like it in Mbessa as well.
Yeah,
Even though I can see most builds aren't playing it. And I'm like, you
mhm.
should. This card is great.
No, this is something that I absolutely love is that I think that this is just such a good card. You're already playing a lot of replacing units, and love that Keldor was able to see that, hey, we can pick the Dredger, be able to still get a 1 might unit back, and stop Draven from potentially drawing another card. And especially with how wide we are going, we have a lot of utility here and have a good chance of being able to really stop the Draven in his tracks. I mean, it is 4-5 right now, and we have an army in our base, whereas Draven, it's like, you can only Falling Star so much.
Yeah, it catches up with you. We've not been able to get Kaiser's down. We've got quite a few cards. Kaiser's are less of an issue. It would have been great to have Ferris Forerunners, as those cards are quite problematic for Rek'Sai to deal with, because even if they do remove them, they split into two further units. So this is going to be tough, and then we also have to worry about Grand Stratagem. I know a couple of Rek'Sai decks are playing it. It's not terribly common, but they do play Under Titans, and we can just play an Under Titan and get +2 to everything. But it's not out of the realm of possibilities.
So, I mean, we'll see. This is going to be a big turn for Keldor, and if he is able to potentially conquer both of these after the fact, I mean, we do have a Draven that's going to be coming in, but you're really also just saying, hey, I just have to try to get over these two units. I mean, we have the Evelyn that's going to be at a -2, so it's going to be at 0 might in this case when attacking in. And if that's going to be something to even try to get out like a spinning axe in this case for the +3, it's like, all right, now that I know that, let me just attack in again kind of thing. So this is going to be interesting to see how all of this is going to play out and what Keldor is going to be able to do, because he's done a really good job at mitigating the amount of power that he's had to pay early in the game. And now he can really start to flourish as he's going to be going up to literally 12 runes, all of his runes out onto his battlefields.
He could play Elder Dragon. Well, he can, but he has enough runes to play one, just not the right colors.
That does put a damper on playing that card.
Yeah, Draven does have the counter swing. So it's just a case of like, can we find ways to snipe that back line?
Well, and that's going to be the thing too, because it's like, yeah, if you're somehow able to blow things up, I mean, here we go with the Under Titan. We can play that out potentially. That's going to be 5 to defend. And then you probably just stack and pray, because I mean, you're going to be seeing yourself at 8 yourself. But the hard part is, excuse me, is that stuff like the Inferna and things like that are not going to be able to defend for a lot. But you still have some big units that can be making a bit of an impact there.
We have a lot. And we don't have Thousand-Tailed Watcher. Yep, and of course, because we played the Under Titan, we get +2 on all of our units this turn. If we can hide a Hidden Blade here as well, and then go for a pretty good stack. The problem is we can't really just commit to one side.
Yeah.
If we do that and our opponent goes to 7 first, they can potentially ignore us, and we've got to get back over there. So we're not overcommitting to both, but we're basically setting ourselves up where they've got to. Our Draven player is going to have to make a Spartan is going to have to make a significant investment if they want to get back this Zone Warrens.
Well, and this could even maybe be a little bit of a trap too, being able to send in something like a Tide Turner, and then you spring a trap with so many cards up. Now, of course, Rek'Sai doesn't have too many tricks like that up their sleeve. We'll see. There is still a chance that they kept the Hidden Blade in hand as a bit of a surprise that they could then utilize. But it still is a very difficult predicament there. And if they can somehow... We've already seen, for example, on the Draven side, the Hard Bargain was already discarded too. So there's maybe a little bit... I don't know if he has 2 in hand and he discarded one of the 2, but still, we'll see what ends up happening.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for Hard Bargain to get value, especially once your opponent gets up to those higher sets of runes, especially in a deck that's so low to the ground, like Rek'Sai.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just a case of, what are we doing? All right, in comes Draven. So Draven's gonna get one more card, and we're seeing multiple copies of Ride the Wind. I've seen quite a few purple decks at this
Mm-hmm.
point just playing 3 copies of Ride the Wind. Yeah, it surprised me it took us a while to get here, but it feels like that must clog from time to time.
Ooh, a falling star
Falling Star
though.
number 3.
That's going to be interesting, though, because that is going to be taking a couple things out. Then Vex is going to be coming in to say, hey, by the way, anything that comes in is going to be stunned. Now, again, if you do still have the Hidden Blade, you can blow that up and then try to accelerate stuff out or something along those lines. But that is a wall that might be big enough to then stop Keldor and force a game 3. But it is not over yet. We still have a turn as Blood Rush is going to be coming in. That is looking like it is going to be repeated. So that is going to be adding Assault 4, or in this case, he's dividing it to 2 different units that will be then going up to 6 might. But the tough part is, what do you
Yeah.
do when you have a Vex that's going to stun things as soon as it comes in?
Oh, we'd have to clear it first. And this is the problem when you go for a big, heavy one-side stack here. We had to stop our opponent getting um, up to 8. But, oh, we've got a second Blood Rush. But the problem is now our opponent gets the advantage of being able to just go, okay, I'll just go for a one-side, and your guys are stuck over on Zorn Island.
Well, and the hard part is with 3 runes up, it's very possible that there is even like a star-crossed in hand. And nope, in this case, it's going to be a spinning axe added onto the Vex to be able to go up to 7. So if there's no additional answers here, then the bird is going to die for nothing. And looks like we are going to be going into a game number 3 after that.
Yeah, and that was very well played there by Spartan, being able to just see, okay, I just need to represent that my opponent has to heavy go one side, and then I'll just ignore them and just sort of like go for the base race. And they were able to take it down. That was very well played. Spotting your win even against what seemed to be an impossible number of units.
Well, and I think that's also going to be maybe the hardest part here too, is now Rek'Sai is able to go first. So you're going to be able to play out a unit, then you're maybe going to be able to activate your legend ability to play something out. We'll see, but that's going to be the trick here is, can Rek'Sai utilize that kind of advantage to then be able to just start to take the game from Draven? Now, Draven was able to do a lot of work with his champion ability, or with his champion that was able to come in for 10 might at the very end, but even still, he had such a rough start, and I worry that if he has that kind of start again, that this game's just going to go straight for Keldor.
I mean, if you draw 3 falling stars, it's generally hard to lose those games.
Yeah,
To be fair,
that's true.
it's still possible, but yeah. Okay, we're going to see Up from Deep. Fantastic card for going second because it gives you the ability to score both. And we're most likely going to be seeing ourselves going to the Candlelit Sanctum, although I could see an argument for treasure. Okay, we're digging for our Noxus Hopeful, and we've got a 4-card dig here, so this is quite possible.
Yep, so he is going to be doing the Candlelit Sanctum first. It looks like he did only put 1 down, so he found the Noxus Hopeful, but he is losing a Cull the week there. But very rightfully so, Draven probably did side in the Tentacles at this point to be able to get things going.
Yeah, it's just such a good card because it threatens to just double score. But and it gives you a lot of options with it, especially if you've got things like Spinning Axe as well. Not that you really want to stick it on a token, because we can get the tokens back again later, and it always just threatens to score another 2 points. It's just a very, very strong card. I think one that kind of caught up with people because no one was kind of expecting when they first read it. They're like, this seems like a good card for maybe pre-rifts or limited, and it just turns out to be an excellent constructed card.
Oh, so there we go with a Vex coming into the base. And I gotta say, one thing that does catch me off a little bit is like Noxie and Emissary. You and I have had some debates about this, but I always feel like that if you are playing this card out, that you need to empower it the same turn that it comes into play here. Otherwise, if it does just get popped, you know, you're losing so much value there.
Oh.
But in this case, we might very well get just a 2-power Falling Star here.
Blackjack. Do we choose to not play them? We've got Vex. That is so rune expensive to hit that Vex because it's going to be 4 power. That wipes our runes out.
Yeah, that is a
Yeah, we
tough
just take the
choice.
+2. We just
Yeah.
take the +2 energy.
Yep. But we do have a Void Rush.
Okay.
So not bad. And then we see another Under Titan. So we're going to be able to at least draw the Under Titan, play out the Carrion Dredger, and we still have an additional 2 that is able to be utilized.
Yep.
And so you're rolling into some really nice momentum here, getting a whole lot of extra value. And it looks like Keldor is going to be adding in a Rek'Sai on top of that. So just like that, being able to go extra wide there. We are empowering also our Noxian Emissary and going in for some additional defense. And so if you do
Yeah.
decide to get that +1 card, you're going to be having a lot more units to answer you on the back.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about Noxian Emissary. It seems so expensive. Obviously, in a deck like Rek'Sai, it can really take advantage of those tokens. Oh, we are going to find Falling Star. That is a very strong Falling Star, but we know there's an Under Titan in hand. So if we tap too low, just simply playing Under Titan will give all of our units a ridiculous stat bonus, and they'll just be able to run over this Vex.
Well, and that's something that I also really worry about too. With I love that the Draven was able to play Under the Deep, but at the same time, it also really feels like that kind of slowed down his progression a little bit too. Yeah, he did have some protection, that's valuable, but even still, it's like you have a 1 might unit, and now this Vex is getting forced to go into another battlefield, and this Up from the Deep, this Tentacle might not be able to then take over this other battlefield.
Currently representing Spinning Axe. No, tapping out. And we go for a hidden card. Could be Tide Turner, but I think at this point, if you under Titan and send both the dredgers in, you're not too worried in that sense. We might have a better option. We might just have Hidden Blade and then just pay the extra deflect to just shove that off. It's kind of tough because the Under Titan doesn't feel terrible. Other hidden cards, it would be a bit of a disaster if it was Pike, but Tide Turner or Vex, neither of those would make a difference. Tide Turner would allow Spartan to retain control of the Candlelit Sanctum. Sorry, I'm slowing down a little bit. It is past 1 in the morning.
Yeah.
But we are doing our best. I say we in the royal we,
but it looks like a Cleave is going to be coming in to add Assault 3, and he's just going to be attacking in, trying to go for the trade here. So we will see that, yeah, there is going to be a backline, so some gold to be made, but Blood Rush is going to be coming in repeated at that point to add an additional 4.
Yeah, oh, that is quite a pickup, but we have forced Rek'Sai to commit quite a bit of energy before this. So it does mean that if there's, for example, a Forerunner, although we may have sided the Forerunners out into purple, oh, we can get an Escape Grey back and then just eat our Dredger, and that means that we free up the Candlelit for us to take it next turn.
Yep.
Oh God, this is so dirty.
I love that ring around play, being able to really stop the Draven. He's down to 3 cards in hand, and that is it. And he has 3 tentacles that are equaling 3. That's it. You know, there's not a whole lot of might here. And really, I think the big thing that's keeping the Draven in this game as well as he is the Falling Stars. And if he didn't have those cards, he'd be finding himself in a world of hurt here. So this is going to be a very important turn. What can Spartan do to be able to develop his board state and keep him into this game when it looks like Rek'Sai has all the cards?
So it's going to be very hard because we know there's an Under Titan, and that's basically +2 on everything in the back line. So even if we just played another Vex to stop anything coming out quite quickly, our opponent is just going to get a ridiculous stat bonus. So we can try and stay on point tempo because we know our opponent can't go to 8 next turn. So this might be a turn to just double tentacles, score to 2 points to go up to 4, make a gold, and then develop in the back line and expect to do some work on the backswing. Because it's going to be very hard to hold this. In fact, it's basically impossible to hold this. We could do some switcheroo nonsense. That could be effective, but then if Keldor attacks in the correct order, okay, yeah, I like this because then our opponent has to commit quite a few resources into taking the Candlelit Sanctum, which probably means that they are not going to get full legend value, and then we get 2/3/3 units that can recontest. So that is a solid defense.
Oh, yeah, I agree. And I really think that the Forerunner is going to be one of the best cards to be able to combat against Rek'Sai because, yeah, it's like, hey, by the way, I'm going to get rid of your Forerunner, but 2 more 3 mites end up coming out, and especially Rek'Sai can struggle with the defense here, which is going to be something to keep in mind. But I think also the tough part here is that Draven continues to tap himself out here, and we see another Noxus Hopeful being found, but in this case, we're going to be going with the Blood Rush in this case to be adding an Assault 4 as it is repeated.
Yeah, that is huge. These blood rushes are massive, and they're so good against things like Vex Apathetic, where you can just add Vex's attack for 2 to the 2-drop you already have in play, and then just run straight over it. So if they've tapped out for it, it's a very strong card for any kind of aggressive Fury deck. I'm a huge fan of Blood Rush.
Yeah, I am too. And it does sometimes suck when it gets defied. It is an easy card to defy, but in Rek'Sai, it just fits so incredibly well as we're now able to attack in with 13 might. And then on top of that, we're going to be able to look at the top 2 of our cards and prepare for that next turn here.
Oh, we already did that this turn. Oh, no, of course we did Candlelit Sanctum.
But a Falling Star!
Yeah, that's what that feels like, Draven. But we've also done, what's really great about this is the Draven attack has to take both sides. That's going to create 2/1/1s at minimum. And then we've got the Under Titan to just give ourselves +4 might off of those tokens. So we've got like a monstrous backswing here. Draven has nothing to defend with. And they have to take both sides with only 2 cards in hand. It's just, yeah, this is going to be really tough. I thought Draven had the advantage. I think one of the mistakes there was moving their Noxus Hopeful forward on the Candlelit Sanctum. I think they probably should have left that in base. That would have gave them a better opportunity to contest this turn, especially since we knew our opponent was going to be able to shove us off. The Falling Star is unfortunate, but both decks are playing 3 copies. It's going to be a Kai'Sa.
That could be a step, and if we have a Ride the Wind, then it might just be that sacrificial lamb here at this point. But all the same, that's the hard part. You don't necessarily have a whole lot of defense set up here. And yeah, even if Keldor is going to need to do a double conquer to be able to get to 8, yeah, it looks like Spartan's going to be like, I don't have the answers. And Cole the Weak is going to be in the hand as well as the Under Titan. That's about as good as you can get right there. And unfortunately, that Falling Star was that big finisher to take out the Forerunner and blowing up those mechs. So great job, all things considered there.
Yeah, that was very well played by both players. I thought that would be much more in Draven's favor, but I think losing the dice roll just had such a big impact on the snowball. And if you replayed that game, I don't think you could have done a ton of things differently. For example, even if we don't push that Noxus Hopeful forward, our opponent still has an Under Titan in hand. They still have a Colder Weak. And we're just leaving our token back to just eat the Colder Weak from our opponent, which is another advantage from Up from the Deep, is you just get to leave stray tokens to eat those Colder Weaks. But yeah, I think if Draven would have won the dice roll in game 1, they probably would have won the match. So it was still well played. I just think that advantage that Rek'Sai got from that was just enough to tip it over the edge. It was very close though.
Yeah, so we'll see what ends up happening with all of that and what Draven and Rek'Sai are able to do. Both are contenders for fighting for that top deck spot of Vendetta. So we'll see if that's going to be an impact on that. With that being said, thank you so much for joining me, Matt. It was great to be able to run this tournament with you again.
Yeah, no, I had a lot of fun. It was great casting, and it's great to see that Spiritforge is still got all the best legends in. We saw Ezreal, Rek'Sai, Draven. Didn't see any Aurelia this week, but Spiritforge still having such an impact on it. And we did see a little bit of Vendetta with Renekton.
Yeah. No,
did we see Kennen this week? I can't remember.
We did not. No, we didn't. Surprisingly not. But Kennen is very hard to play digitally. That's my
It's
biggest complaint. I've tried and it's not fun.
yeah, it's a lot of clicking around, and it just your games feel quite long as well. So if you're
Mhm.
sitting down to play like a whole day, you you're doing less matches in general just because of how it is. But you get very familiar with your deck very very quickly. But yeah, sorry. Before I go, sort of like randomly pontificating about the merits of playing Kennen on a digital platform, it's been a really great tournament, and thank you so much for everyone for watching today. It's been great to have you, and sorry I didn't have the old YouTube chat open fast enough. I'll be sure to next time be in the chat so I can respond to you guys much more directly.
Yeah, definitely. And where can they find you? Because I know you forgot your YouTube plug last time.
Oh, which would have been great when there was like a raid with over like 200 people watching. But you can find me over on Matorgus Plays on YouTube. My most recent video, which was posted last week, is a competitive ambassador guide. Tomorrow, the plan is to go through matchups for that deck, and then do some more deck guides. I'm waiting for the big tournaments before I start doing the VOD reviews again. But if you're looking for sort of more of the in-depth strategy material, that's kind of more of what I do. I'm less news and hey, look at this exciting stuff coming up because my audience is too small. So I focus on the bit I'm good at, which is uh, going very, very in depth on the card game side of it. So yeah,
Mhm.
find me on Matorgus Plays over on YouTube, and I appreciate you guys for watching.
Yeah, and with that being said, if you do want to be a part of these tournaments, you can join down in the Discord below. And we post a sign up link every Monday. And then you, of course, have till the Thursday that we play at 6 p.m. Eastern Time to be able to join. And with that being said, if you want to join and play one round, you're welcome to. If you want to play all three, you're welcome to. With that being said, though, it's a great way for you to be able to practice. And if Nexus nights are maybe a little bit hard for you to come by in your local area, this is a great place to have some good practice. So, with that being said, guys, that is going to be it for us. My co-caster was Matt. What's your YouTube called? I can never say your YouTube name.
Matorgus Plays.
That
I'll
one.
just put it in the chat.
Yeah, we'll link it down in the chat for you so that you guys can check him out. But again, we'll be here next week with another tournament coming your way. So thank you again so much for being a part of this, and we will see you guys next time.
Cheers.